Chapter 299. Lu Cheng was driven back to his dormitory by Yan Zheke, who told him to have a good rest and try to recover as soon as possible. He sniffed and opened the door. To his surprise, he saw old Qiu Zhigao, still in the dormitory. "You didn't go to study?" Lu Cheng asked in surprise, putting down his down jacket and thermos cup. "Did the sun rise from the west today?" Wasn't old Qiu's catchphrase, "A day's work begins in the morning"? Qiu Zhigao kept moving the mouse in front of the computer screen and said without turning his head, "Grab something." "What are you grabbing?" Lu Cheng laughed and opened the wardrobe. He folded the down jacket and put it in a corner. Mo Jingting's concert tickets. Start at 9:30 sharp. Qiu Zhigao stared at the screen. He had been thinking about finding a girlfriend since he entered university. But the one he liked didn't like him, and the one who liked him didn't like him. So he could only stay single and focus on studying and idols. Mo Jingting? Lu Cheng curled his lips and said, "Where is the concert?" After returning to Xing province from Moshang, this martial niece had not contacted him much. She only sent him a message once in a while to show her presence. This was indeed a good thing for him. A person's energy was limited. How could he have time to deal with other girls? Songqing. Don't you know? She just announced a few days ago that she will hold a concert in Songqing in November. You can't miss it. Old Xiu said excitedly, It's starting. Songqing. Lu Cheng's brows furrowed, but soon relaxed. It didn't matter. The university martial arts competition would start in November. Based on the school's previous record, most of the matches would be away games. They would hardly be in Songqing on weekends. This was the mode of avoiding harassment. According to his master, he and Lin Ke would take turns to control the field in the first stage of the division competition to train the substitutes. Why else would I grab the tickets? What a good opportunity! Old Xiu said and suddenly felt sad and angry. That bastard bought the tickets at a high price. If you didn't grab the tickets, would you buy them? Lu Cheng asked with a smile. He summoned his remaining courage to lie down on the bed and let himself fall into the soft quilt. Old Xiu gritted his teeth for a while. Buy. Save some money. True love. Lu Cheng praised inwardly. Old Xiu's family background was similar to his before he started practicing martial arts. His family background was average. As a student, he focused on self-study and had no source of income. He was supported by the living expenses provided by his family. This was saving from the rations. In order not to disturb old Xiu, he didn't say anything more. He took out his phone, unlocked it, and saw that Yan Zheke had sent a photo of her cleaning in the dormitory. A smile unconsciously appeared on his face as he typed a few words of praise for his little fairy. While the girl was too busy to reply to his message, Lu Cheng leisurely opened the forum and entered the Longhu Club. He browsed the news of the top professional competitions and the mighty ones with titles such as the Dragon King. As a martial artist whose goal was to attain physical invulnerability, he wasn't just interested in these things. It was also closely related to him. As for his own fan forum, there were very few people at the moment, and almost no one paid attention to things that were not related to him, so it was difficult to obtain similar information. God, please tell me which one of these two houses is better. This was the first post that Lu Cheng saw. He couldn't help but think of his mother. It had been almost a month since she said that she wanted to buy a house, but she still hadn't made a decision. She even expanded the range of options, no longer limited to the original neighborhood. So troublesome. Fortunately, I have already transferred 400,000 yuan to her. Lu Cheng criticized his mother silently and thought of his own savings. Since his personal coaching fee had increased to 3,000 yuan per hour, the previously enthusiastic crowd had become realistic and lost their enthusiasm. He had only earned a little more than 40,000 yuan in this area. Including the remaining 20,000 yuan from the part-time job and the original balance, after deducting all expenses, he still had more than 290,000 yuan left. He didn't have to worry about money for now. He browsed the post just now and wrote down the valuable replies. He planned to teach his mother over the phone tonight. He exited the post and scrolled down. He saw a popular post from Unparalleled Dragon King. The battle of the heavenly sons of the age is about to begin. Lu Cheng vs. Peng Lin. There are still 2 months before the opening of the university martial arts competition, and at least 3 months before the battle with Shanbei. Someone is already paying attention to this matter, and it has become a hot topic in the Longhu Club forum. Lu Cheng took a deep breath. At this moment, old Chiu jumped up and cheered loudly, "I got it! I got it!" In the male dormitory of Shanbei University. Su Wanyan, the president of the martial arts club, stood downstairs, looking at his phone and browsing the battle of the heavenly sons of the age forwarded by others. "I'm looking forward to it." He sighed with great interest and then called Peng Lin, "Junior brother Peng, come down quickly. We're going to gather for training. We're all waiting for you." "Okay," Peng Liyun said concisely. As soon as he finished his words, Su Wanyan saw a figure jump out of the window of a dormitory on the 5th floor. "Not again." Su Wanyan covered his face and sighed. The freshmen screamed one after another, "He jumped off the building! He jumped off the building! Someone jumped off the building!" In midair, the figure suddenly expanded like a rock spreading its wings. It glided forward in a small margin. Then he landed firmly on the ground, which seemed to shake the surroundings. "Let's go." Peng Liyun jumped to Su Wanyan's side and greeted him with a smile. Su Wanyan looked at the place where Peng Liyun had landed and found no obvious traces. He couldn't help but be shocked and worship junior brother Peng's strength again. "He's getting stronger and stronger." The freshmen were silent as if they had seen a monster. At this moment, the dormitory manager rushed out of the door and shouted, "Peng Lin, why didn't you take the stairs again? What if you scared the others?" Peng Liyun shrunk his shoulders and didn't show a cold expression. He just smiled and said, "I was thinking about a problem. It was a difficult problem, so I took a shortcut." "Shortcut?" The freshmen around all opened their mouths wide. Su Wanyan held back his laughter and apologized to the dormitory manager. "I'll take care of him," he said as he pulled Peng Liyun away from the crime scene. "What do you think of this post?" Since it was a daily thing, he didn't mention what had just happened and handed his phone to Peng Liyun. Peng Liyun read it and laughed in a low voice. "It's very interesting. Just don't run into Lu Cheng." "Yeah, I'm worried when I think of my supernatural ability being restrained by him." Fortunately, Xiao Fang's body has also become a big Dan. Su Wanyan sighed. After the supernatural ability of Corvine Mouth became stronger, he had a certain chance of winning against professional 8th pin or even professional 7th pin. But if his supernatural ability lost its effect, his body as a top professional 9th pin fighter would definitely be no match for a mighty one of Dan's stage. He couldn't help gossiping, "Junior brother Peng, when will you reach the inhuman level? I heard that Ren Li is about to reach professional 6th pin and Lu Cheng is catching up very quickly." The competition for the champion of this year's martial arts competition was extremely fierce, but as long as junior brother Peng could reach high pin, everything would become simple again. As for whether Ren Li and Lu Cheng would reach the inhuman level in the next competition, it was not a problem for him to consider. "I've already graduated." Peng Liyun's face was clean and his eyes were clear. He looked at the clouds in the sky and said, "When will it be?" His eyes gradually lost focus and his movements became sloppy, as if he was moving forward by instinct. But he could accurately avoid obstacles like trees, small stones, and frolicking students. Junior brother Peng is in a daze again, and he has evolved to be in a daze while walking. Su Wanyan sighed helplessly and stopped thinking about the martial arts competition. He shifted his thoughts to the gathering area of the nightclubs in Pingjiang City and the girls with different characteristics. He pulled his collar, feeling a little hot. In the only university campus in Jiang City, Chu Hui, wearing a white shirt, floated 30 centimeters above the ground in the office of the martial arts club. He looked at the members in front of him and said with a faint smile, "What do you think? What do you think of the discussion?" The leading members and substitutes of the martial arts club were all silent, lowering their heads as if they had done something wrong. They didn't dare to speak. "Luo Hei's, you first." Chu Hui, who was also the coach of the martial arts club, had the authority to look down on others. Luo Hei's was tall and looked honest. The childishness on his face had disappeared. He touched Bangguang's head and said, Those animals of Songqing University are growing too fast. Last year they were just walk-ons, but this year they have 2 Dan stage fighters, and Lu Qing is close to professional 7th pin. It was like a dream. In the martial arts circle of universities, there were indeed geniuses and strong fighters, but the number and foundation were not enough. Dan stage fighters were rare in most schools. After all, this was the real beginning of martial arts. In a strong school like Jiang City, none of the professional 9th pin fighters in the first few years had reached Big Dan and Chi by the time they graduated. This showed how difficult it was to reach Dan's stage. But Songqing University Martial Arts Club had 2 Dan stage fighters in less than a year. Wasn't this bullying? This is other people's talent. You can't be envious. Chu Hui crossed his arms and said insincerely. Then he put on a serious face and said, "Hey eyes, you're actually very talented. Even if you can't reach the inhuman level like Peng Liyun, Ren Li, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, you should at least reach Dan's stage now. But look at yourself. What the hell are you doing? You should stay away from those bad friends." Luo Hei's lowered his head. Being too shy to refuse people was his biggest flaw. After scolding Luo Hei's, Chu Hui looked at another member and frowned. "Take it easy. You're also a person who has a chance to reach Dan's stage. Don't you want to go further before graduation? You'll live a good life in the future." Yin Xiangxi smiled bitterly and said, "We've known each other for more than 3 years. Don't you know my character?" His fighting style was aggressive. He would never defend unless he had no other choice. Even if the referee stopped him in time, he had been injured several times in the past few years. His martial arts practice lacked continuity, and his talent was gradually depleted. Both of them were troublesome. Chu Hui didn't say more. He stared at the phone on the desk like an eagle. When discussing the division, they only mentioned Shanbei and Songqing University, Peng Liyun, Fang Zhirong, Lu Cheng, and Lin Quebec. They completely ignored Sanjiang School. They completely ignored Chu Hui's existence. "Sorry, I've also reached Dan's stage and my supernatural ability has improved. Shanbei, Songqing University, wait for my surprise." Chapter 300. 3 days later, when the freshmen started their military training, Lu Cheng, who had completely recovered from the backfire, stood by the Weishui Lake and looked at his master eagerly, waiting for him to teach him something about Dan's stage. In the last 2 morning exercises, he had focused on recovery cultivation. Geezer sure paced a few steps with his hands behind his back and laughed. "Not bad, you didn't open your mouth until now." As for the training of Dan's stage, we all have a consensus that it is a link between the past and the future. How should I say this? First, from the concealment of spirit and qi, to the direct transformation of spirit and qi, to promote the gradual integration of spirit and qi with qi, blood and force, to prepare for the external connection between heaven and earth. Second, to break the limit of the body, to constantly exceed the normal quality, to inner training of root pulp, to achieve miraculous results. Third, on this basis, speed, coordination, control and reaction will be greatly improved, and you will be able to combine the basic force techniques and corresponding punches and feet into moves. Turn it into a move? Lu Cheng asked in confusion. Don't I usually use moves? Geezer sure took out a small flagon, took a sip, smacked his lips and said, think about it, whether it's 24 Blizzard Strikes or Thunder Roar Zen, there's nothing fancy about the punches and feet, isn't there? It's mainly about the force techniques, the method of borrowing force and corresponding visualization. It's just the most basic movements, such as collapse, cannon, chop, whip, rush, punch, and so on. But in a fight, I will also combine them according to the situation. Don't these count as moves? Lu Qing vaguely understood his master's meaning. Yes, these are the basic moves. Why else would the fighting style of Dan's stage be a link between the past and the future? Geezer sure answered proudly. However, the moves of the Dan stage are the result of continuous improvement and refinement by generations of seniors. It's definitely better and more reasonable than your purely improvisational performance. The follow-up moves are all full of killing intent. Of course, you can't stick to the moves of your predecessors. No matter how strong they are, They still have to be used in actual combat. When you master them, you will be able to use them according to the situation at hand and combine them at will. You will be considered a master in this aspect. Lu Cheng asked blankly, "Then what's the difference with me now?" Both are specific responses to specific situations and can be combined at will. Of course it's different. It's just like how you read books. One of you knows nothing, so you just sit there and let your imagination run wild, winning by slapping your head. The other one has comprehended the knowledge of his predecessors and then started to think about his own things. Even if you happen to be involved in the same topic, it's still not the same. Geezer sure replied grumpily. The difference between a scientist and a civilian scientist. Lu Cheng suddenly understood. Is this the three realms of seeing a mountain as a mountain, seeing a mountain as not a mountain, seeing a mountain as still a mountain? You're right. Geezer sure coughed twice. I'll start with visualization. You've already been exposed to the Dan stage, so it shouldn't be too difficult to master it. In terms of mental cultivation, you need to develop from the condensation stance to the ice mirror. It doesn't matter if you haven't learned the basics of the ice mirror yet. You just need to slowly integrate what you know into the condensation stance. Master, I'm almost at the beginner level of ice mirror. Lu Cheng happily reported his progress. After the initial integration of mental, qi, blood, and force, and with the foundation of meditation, he had gradually found the feeling of practicing the ice mirror. Although it wasn't rapid progress, it seemed that he was about to reach the threshold. At most half a year, at least 2 or 3 months, there was hope for him to learn the basics. That's not what I want to hear. Geezer sure glared at him. When you learn the basics of the ice mirror, your mental cultivation will focus on it. You can use it until you're close to the physical invulnerability. As for the internal training of the body, hey, you've also learned the frozen ground map and the frozen river map. They're the contents before the inhuman level. Ah? Isn't this the frost force? Lu Cheng was confused. Geezer sure smiled proudly. The external force is the frost force, and the internal force is the body training method. Why else would it be called the core force of the ice sect? I didn't tell you before because your body isn't strong enough to withstand the internal force. Once you train, you'll be injured and destroyed. This is also why from the Dan stage onwards, the martial arts practitioner's practice must be fixed. They must distinguish between the primary and the secondary. Force is the training method, which will affect the root pulp and change your body. If they're mixed and have conflicting natures, then the genes will collapse. Geezer sure, who was often in contact with military research, came up with a fashionable term. So it's like this. Lu Cheng said thoughtfully. Master, I'm based on the balance of ice and fire. How can I prevent them from conflicting and causing problems with the root pulp? I don't have experience in this. Geezer sure's answer scared Lu Cheng so much that he almost shivered. It's because you had to awaken the two supernatural abilities of ice and fire, and mix them with the things of cultivation. Before Lu Cheng asked again, he smiled and said, "But it's not a problem. Your root pulp has changed long ago. Otherwise, how can you have supernatural abilities? Moreover, your supernatural abilities of ice and fire are under the influence of Longhu Immortal's relics and your Dan equilibrium. Haven't they been peaceful and without conflict? This shows that the foundation has been mixed and your body has adapted. As long as the difference between the two isn't to the extent that you lose control, your genes won't collapse." That scared me. Lu Cheng wiped the non-existent cold sweat. Master, so I have to follow the fire attribute martial arts in the future? Yes, it's the same when you reach the physical invulnerability stage. Geezer sure nodded leisurely. Lu Cheng was curious. Then what's the physical invulnerability force that corresponds to Zhu Rong force? How do I get it? Fire force, Emperor Yen force. Geezer sure answered with a smile. Emperor Yen force. Why does it sound so familiar? Lu Cheng blurted out. It'd be strange if it didn't. It's the Dragon King's specialty. Geezer sure coughed twice, straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. Alright. Lu Cheng unconsciously spoke like Yenjika. When two people have been together for a long time, They would always influence each other in some aspects. After saying that, he realized something and asked in astonishment, "This is the martial arts of the fire sect?" The fire sect. The divine kung fu of the fire sect in the 5-sect unique skills of Taoism. It was different from the ice sect unique skill of the ice sect. It was called the fire sect itself. Yes, I've wasted a lot of my reputation and favors. Geezer sure nodded proudly, satisfied with his silly disciple's reaction. Lu Qing was touched, but he knew that his master didn't want to hear words of gratitude, so he played along and said, "Master, you're so awesome. You can even get the martial arts of the fire sect." Master's face is a little old. Cough, it's still worth a lot. Geezer sure coughed happily and added, "And some people think highly of you, maybe they—" "What?" Lu Qing asked. "Nothing, just a casual remark." Geezer sure said carelessly, "Let's continue with what we just said. The internal withdrawal is the reverse. First, we'll use the frozen river diagram, then the frozen ground diagram to influence the body. We'll practice more subtle things and gradually interfere with the root pulp. When we reach the inhuman level, we'll be able to change it little by little." He explained the inner practice of the Dan stage in detail and laid out the differences between the frost force and the Zhu Rong force. He gave a thorough explanation so that his disciple wouldn't make a mistake. After Lu Qing tried a few times and confirmed that there were no problems, he continued to explain. There are 2 kinds of martial arts in the Dan stage. One is the combination of martial arts that I just mentioned. The other is close to physical invulnerability. When the force can be transformed into a substance and released from the body, it's the rough application of the force. Your supernatural ability is similar to this state. You can practice it in advance, although it won't be as powerful. You can practice 3 martial arts in the next few months. Geezer Sher's face suddenly became serious. Lu Qing held his breath and waited for his master to announce the 3 martial arts. Geezer Sher cleared his throat and said, "The 13th move of the ice sect, vast snow. The 19th move, cold bite. The 26th move, ice burning." Hearing his master's words, Lu Qing was excited and had an inexplicable feeling at the same time. This is the treatment of a disciple of a big sect. From this step onwards, even if he lost the Jindan, he would be able to shake off his previous opponents, such as Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei. With this blessing and gratitude, Lu Qing was very focused on practicing. Unknowingly, he heard his master say, "Well, you can practice by yourself for a while. Remember, the special training officially starts today. Don't be late." Lu Qing thought of something and stopped being arrogant. "Master, have you prepared the internal training method for the martial arts club?" He, Ku, and brother-in-law had it, but the others didn't. "I'm still thinking about it." Geezer sure took a sip of wine. Lu Qing smiled. "Master, you don't have to worry about it. I've prepared one for everyone." "Where did you get it?" Geezer sure looked at his disciple from head to toe. "Didn't I go to Xioshan to guide the special training? When I left, the chairman wanted to give me a reward. I thought that everyone still needs the internal training method, so I suggested using their special training method instead. Although it's not very good, it's enough." Lu Qing explained with a smile. And this method could not only be used on his teammates in the martial arts club, but also on his friends and family. If they really wanted to follow this path but couldn't enter the Ice God sect, he wouldn't have to worry about not having something to teach them. Geezer sure snorted. "With your little contribution, you can exchange it for the internal training method? You only teach for 1 day a week." I also felt embarrassed and thought that I might ask for more money. In the end, Chairman Wei agreed immediately. "He's a good person." Lu Qing praised. "He's a good person. Anyway, the internal training method doesn't belong to his family. It's a good deal to use the foundation's things to make friends with a potential master like you." Geezer sure said with a smile. Lu Qing laughed dryly and didn't answer. Ku had already analyzed this for him. "Then give me the diagram of the internal training method later." Geezer sure turned around. "I didn't expect you to care so much about the martial arts club. The internal training method at this level didn't touch on the essence and charm." Lu Qing smiled and said, "We have a weak foundation. If we want to catch up with the strong martial arts schools, We have to make good use of everyone. You're so ambitious. Geezer sure scolded jokingly. Master, don't tell them the internal training method was provided by you. I'm afraid they'll feel uncomfortable when they see me in the future. Lu Cheng requested. Yo, you're doing a good deed without leaving your name? Okay, that's it. Geezer sure waved his hand and walked to the long bridge. This is a kind of state. Lu Cheng complained and turned back to train his strength. Chapter 301. After breakfast, Lu Cheng took Yenjika's hand and walked to the martial arts arena happily, preparing for the first special training of the new semester. Feeling the strange gazes of the passing students, he couldn't help but sigh secretly. I haven't shown my love like this for a long time. It's so different to be able to date openly in school. What are you laughing at? Yenjika slightly raised her eyebrows and glanced at him in confusion. Lu Cheng laughed and said, I'm proud to have a little fairy. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh, feeling that Ching was really a hidden joker. The more time she spent with him, the more she felt this. Her mood improved again. Well, the sky was blue and the wind was clear. While talking and laughing, they arrived at the arena and walked through the gate. They saw several figures that shouldn't be here at this time. The leader was wearing a white shirt, a light gray suit, and a skirt. She had a slim figure and an outstanding appearance. Her short hair was just right, refreshing and pretty. She was Shu Rui, the reporter of Songcheng TV station who had interviewed the martial arts club several times. Beside her, a small team was busy preparing for the shooting. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. Then they tacitly unclasped their hands to avoid being caught by the camera. Hi, Lu Cheng. Shu Rui looked around and found an acquaintance. She immediately waved and greeted him happily. Reporter Shu, you're here for an interview so early? Lu Cheng walked over curiously and asked. Yenjika followed him obediently with her hands behind her back and pricked up her ears. Shu Rui showed her dimples and said with a smile, It's not an interview. It's a program recording. A program recording? Lu Cheng blurted out in surprise. What kind of program is there to record? Shu Rui showed her 8 teeth and said, You and Lin Kei have become the top group in the whole university martial arts circle. Songcheng University Martial Arts Club will definitely advance in the division and even have the hope to enter the Final Four. You're the focus of everyone's attention. Let me say good luck first. As the TV station of Songcheng, how can we miss this focus? The leader has approved me to do a special program. Special? Lu Cheng pondered over the word. Yenjika was also confused. Shu Rui chuckled. It's a documentary-type program. From now until April next year, I'll come here every few days to film something. I'll record your special training, practice, preparation, warm-ups, competitions, as well as your daily life. I'll show you your true selves from all aspects. When the time comes, I'll use this as material to make a special topic for you to participate in the national competition. Such a program? Lu Cheng thought for a while and said, It sounds interesting. I've done some research and many people are interested. Shu Rui replied with a smile. This program was planned by me, I planned it. Yenjika pursed her lips with a smile and watched quietly. She seemed to have seen reporter Shu's cocky tail. We'll try our best to cooperate. Lu Cheng said politely and pointed to the team. I'll go over and gather first. Don't worry. It's just a coincidence that we met. Just a few words, just a few words. Student Yen, you can say something later. Shu Rui pointed the camera at Lu Cheng and Yenjika dodged to the side. All right. Lu Cheng was a veteran who had been through hundreds of battles, so he wasn't scared at all. Shu Rui smiled and said, Be normal. Just like how you greeted me just now. Hey Lu Cheng, you're early. It's late. Reporter Shu, you're all here. Lu Cheng made a joke. You're in a good mood. You feel relaxed and full of motivation. Do you have a goal for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition? Shu Rui asked with a smile. A soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good driver. Lu Cheng answered humorously. Got it. I won't delay your special training. Bye. Shu Rui waved her hand. Bye. Lu Cheng walked to the team and greeted Kai Zhongming, Li Mao, Guqin, Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Jiang Fuxing, Li Xiaowen, and Wu Meng. Yan Zhike was stopped by Xu Rui and had to stop. "Student Yan, you're a real beauty. You don't have to worry about going on camera without makeup or Photoshop." Xu Rui conducted the interview with a relaxed attitude. "I'm not worried about that." Yan Zhike blinked her eyes and answered innocently. Xu Rui smiled and said, "You rarely accept interviews before, so it's inevitable that I have an illusion. I was a substitute at that time. There was no need for me to be in the limelight." Yan Zhike said naturally, "As a substitute, have you prepared for this year's National University Martial Arts Competition?" Xu Rui went back to the topic. Yan Zhike's eyes lit up and said, "Yes, but there's still a long way to go. I hope I can be close to the level of a professional ninth pin before the district competition." She wasn't modest or exaggerating. "Wow, that's great. I'm so envious." Xu Rui made a gesture and said, "Student Yan, you can do it." "Thank you." Yan Zhike bowed politely and walked toward the team with her graceful back. At this moment, Lin Kei walked out of the locker room, looking clean and fresh. Xu Rui signaled the cameraman to follow him and walked up to him with a nervous smile. "Hi, Student Lin Quebec." She hoped he was in a good mood today. "It's you again." Lin Kei glanced at her. What did he mean by, again? Xu Rui's mouth twitched. Was he mocking her for being a reporter for more than a year? Was he still interviewing Songqing University Martial Arts Club? But it was rare to be promoted after working for more than a year, especially when she ignored some of the leader's hints. She curved her lips and said with a fake smile, "Yes, it's me again. I'm just a reporter who has to support my family. I have to follow the leader's orders, so I can only come here obediently. Good luck." Lin Kei replied with 2 words without any expression and walked past the camera without stopping. "Good luck? Who was interviewing who?" Xu Rui was stunned for a moment. This guy never played by the rules. A few minutes later, Geezer Sure arrived and pointed the camera at everyone. "We've known each other for almost a year. Let's cut the crap and get to the point." Geezer Sure drank a mouthful of wine. "This semester, we only have one goal, which is to qualify for the University Martial Arts Club Division and get a pass to the final round of the competition in the capital in April next year." Then he coughed and glanced at Lu Cheng. "And for this goal, I've prepared an internal training method for you." "Internal training method?" Li Mao blurted out, surprised and happy. Kai Zhongming was also stunned. He looked at Lu Cheng and Guqin with disbelief written all over his face. Internal training methods were priceless. There were only 3 ways to get an internal training method without entering a relevant sect or excellent martial arts school. The first was to participate in professional competitions and get it from the rewards. The second was to make a contribution and get it from the government. The third was to accumulate contribution points and exchange it from the Martial Arts Association. Most of the methods in the market were fake. The government and martial arts circle were suppressing the merchants who could spread the internal training method widely in order to maintain their own interests. In other words, if a martial artist without an inheritance got an internal training method, he could use it to teach his disciples. If he was short of money, he could sell it to anyone. But if he wanted to sell it to 2, 3, or 4 people, he would be warned. It was a continuation of the bad practice of martial arts. From the time Chu Weikai opened his martial arts school until now, he hadn't been able to get an internal training method for so many years. Of course, this was only difficult for ordinary martial artists. After Li Mao succeeded in meditation, he felt that he could really get a professional 9th pin certificate within a year. At that time, he would be in his senior year and would have an advantage in finding a job. Occasionally, he would fantasize about getting an internal training method from the martial arts club. In that case, he might be able to become a professional 9th pin in half a year or a few months. Then he could get a few more methods and open a martial arts school in his small hometown. However, he just thought about it and didn't think it would really happen. But now, in front of his eyes, the internal training method was really in front of him. How could he not be excited? How could he not be ecstatic? He wanted to cheer and shout, "Long live Coach Shi!" He was like that, and so was Kai Zhongming. Although Talker came from a good family, he didn't have many connections in martial arts. After he succeeded in meditation, he tried to get an internal training method, but he failed miserably. He wanted to talk to Chung after school started and see if he had any connections. With the internal training method at this age, I might be able to walk the path of martial arts and make my own life. Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Wu Meng, Li Xiaowen and the others were also very happy. Although they didn't succeed in meditation and couldn't practice the most essential part of the internal training method, just the rest of the content could save them a lot of time and effort. For example, Li Xiaowen, who used to only aim at the level of amateur third pin by graduation and get a good certificate, now she could look forward to getting the amateur first pin in her 4th year. In this way, her future life might be completely different. What? You don't want it? Geezer sure made a joke. Li Mao, Kai Zongming and the others answered in unison. They were excited and beaming. Seeing their reaction, Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other and felt a strong sense of achievement and satisfaction. Although they didn't know that the internal training method was provided by them and they thanked their master, why did they feel so happy? Maybe this is the spiritual enjoyment of doing a good deed without leaving a name? Shu Rui watched with great interest and asked the cameraman to record the situation just now. In the following daily training, they recorded a lot of videos and went outside to shoot a lot of environmental materials. Then they came back in and prepared to leave. At this time, Geezer sure announced the start of the practice. According to the usual grouping, Lu Cheng found Yenjika. When he was about to talk about the recording of the program, he saw Lin Kei come over with no expression. He said with gloomy eyes, "Let's learn from each other." There seemed to be 2 flames in the depths of his eyes, flames ignited by a strong desire to fight. Lu Cheng thought that with the arrogance of his brother-in-law, he might take the initiative to learn from him. He was not surprised and answered with a smile, "Okay." Chapter 302. Shu Rui, who was about to retreat, saw the scene and heard the conversation between the two. Her eyes lit up. Breaking news! Breaking news! A direct confrontation between 2 heavenly sons. Who's stronger and who's weaker on the first day of the special training? Is the competition in Songqing University Martial Arts Club always so exciting? She stopped in her tracks and became excited. Her eyes shone as she signaled to the cameraman to find a better position and grabbed the golden spot next to the ring. At this moment, Geezer sure turned around and said, "Miss Shu, aren't you leaving?" Shu Rui pretended not to understand what the other party was implying. She pitifully acted cute and said, take another picture. That won't do. The competition later involves the secret of our martial arts club's preparation. We have to clear the venue. Geezer sure was well informed and didn't get confused. He smiled and went straight to the point. Shu Rui pretended to be wronged and said, Coach Sure, we're not outsiders. Not only the local TV station, but we've also interviewed you many times. We'll keep it a secret and won't spread the news. Before the program is broadcast, we'll ask you to go through it and see if there's anything that shouldn't be shown. No. Shi Jiangwo smiled and shook his head. We'll sign a guarantee. Shu Rui raised her arm. Geezer sure was unmoved. Go out and leave some suspense for the program. Okay. Feeling the firm will of this mighty one with physical invulnerability, Shu Rui replied dejectedly and led the cameraman out of the door. She walked 3 times in one step and almost stepped all the ants on the ground. Just as she walked out of the stadium, she heard hurried footsteps behind her. She was delighted and thought that Coach Sure had changed his mind. If you don't forget, there will be an echo. Shu Rui turned her head and saw Kai Zongming. She smiled and said, New president, why are you following me? Kai Zongming looked at her with appreciation and spread his hands helplessly. Lock the door. Lock the door. Shu Rui stared blankly at him. She watched the door close inch by inch in front of her. She heard a clang and the sound of the lock cylinder being buckled. The wind blew and her hair rose and fell. After a long time, she turned around and greeted the cameraman and the others. She said in a languid tone, Let's go. Shu, don't worry about it. This kind of thing is very common. Who would let an outsider film an internal competition? Isn't this leaking military secrets? The beauty frowned. The cameraman wasn't heartless and couldn't help but comfort her. I understand. Shu Rui regained her vitality and narrowed her eyes with a smile. It's just that I don't know if I should say a curse word. Wu Meng and Jiang Fusheng cooperated with Li Xiaowen to invite all the students who were doing fitness exercises in the gymnasium to the strength training gymnasium. They asked them to stay inside for the time being and use the equipment to kill time. They went outside and surrounded the ring, waiting for the start of the competition with great interest. This seemed to have become a tradition in the martial arts club, right? The first day of the special training last term was also the duel between Lin Ke and Lu Cheng. That time, Lin Ke won, but Lu Cheng grew stronger at an incredible speed. He even won the championship of their provincial youth tournament and was considered to have the strength of a seventh pin fighter. This time, who would be better than him? They didn't think that Lin Ke had a 100% chance of winning. After all, Lin Ke had entered the Dan stage in June. After 3 months of hard work, it was hard for outsiders to predict his current level. Who knew how far he had progressed? Yen Zhika, on the other hand, knew about both sides. She wanted to say something, but in the end she swallowed the words back into her stomach. This kind of thing should be solved by themselves. This was the purity of a martial artist. No matter how close they were, others shouldn't interfere. Based on her understanding of Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, she was sure that they would go all out in the competition, regardless of other factors. Lu Cheng smiled at his girlfriend and stepped into the ring. He was actually very curious about how much his brother-in-law had improved in the past 2 months. The practice method of the Dan stage? The corresponding moves? He seemed to be an official disciple of Shushan study. It was said that he had the ability to observe the fighting sect. It's a pity that I've only been exposed to similar martial arts since this morning and haven't had time to make any progress. I've only skipped the most difficult part because I can use my supernatural ability to replace it. I've mastered it pretty quickly. Lu Cheng's thoughts were running wild as he stood on the left side of his master. Showing his strongest side was the only way to show respect to his brother-in-law. Lin Ke was already waiting there. His eyes were indifferent and burning, which was quite contradictory. If it's just a competition, there's no time to talk. Geezer sure coughed. Let's start. As soon as he finished his words, Lin Ke's chi and blood gathered and released. His whole body was like a cannonball, blasting towards his opponent. His speed was so fast that Lu Cheng almost had the illusion that his brother-in-law was breaking the sound barrier. Bang! The explosion of the airflow and Lin Ke's figure almost arrived at the same time. Lu Cheng didn't have time to dodge, nor did he have time to use severe warning. He lowered his center of gravity, gathered all the strength in his body, and expanded his muscles and fascia. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and threw out a right fist from his waist. Let's see which is better, my Dan stage version of 24 Blizzard Strikes or your Dan stage Yin-Yang Twist. Just as the two of them were about to collide into each other and create a car accident, Lin Ke suddenly stopped. A loud grinding sound came from under his feet, and his right arm swelled up. He clenched his fist and punched out. It was so fast that it left afterimages behind. But this punch didn't stop Lu Cheng's attack. Instead, it hit the empty space between them. Boom! With Lin Ke's punch as the starting point, it was like a small bomb had been detonated. The shockwave wrapped in the airflow rushed towards Lu Cheng violently, trying to tear his body apart. Punching like exploding a mountain. The 27th move of the fighting sect, Meteor Burst. Lu Cheng was shocked. He pulled and released his right fist and his left arm bounced up, opening his 5 fingers and blocking the vital part of his face. He swayed back in the wind of the shockwave, cleverly releasing the force to resist. After the first move, Lin Ke made 2 consecutive bursts. He supported himself with his right leg and stepped forward with his left foot, as if plowing the ground. Bang! The ground he stepped on was intact. But under Lu Cheng's feet, the surface of the ring cracked like a volcanic eruption. The fragments turned into hidden weapons and shot up. The 16th move of the fighting sect, ground cracking. Lu Cheng was swaying to resist the shockwave. Suddenly, he lost his center of gravity and was facing many flying fragments that could hurt him. At the critical moment, he bent his thigh and breathed heavily. He first did the Dan concentration to soften his muscles and remove most of the power of the hidden weapons. Then he completed the explosion, expanding his muscles and skin, turning the surface blue and black, and bouncing off the fragments one by one. At this time, Lin Kei wouldn't just watch him defend. He was already close to him, stretching out his right hand and opening his 5 fingers to grab him. Combo it. In the fighting sect, if one could make 7 consecutive moves, combining long-range and short-range attacks, it would be a famous physical invulnerability move, the 6th move of the fighting sect, Big Dipper main kill. If one could only make 5, 4, or even 3 consecutive moves, it would be a lower move. Of course, this lower move was only relatively speaking. The effect was equally terrible because there were only 9 moves in the physical invulnerability section of the fighting sect. What Lin Kei was using now was the elementary version. The 10th move of the fighting sect, Death End. Seeing his brother-in-law's right hand about to grab him and complete the combo attack, Lu Cheng suddenly exhaled. He lowered his right hand, hooked it and shook it. A glittering and translucent white light landed on the ground and rapidly swam towards Lin Kei, who was pouncing towards him. The 26th move of the Ice Sect, Ice Burning. Chapter 303. Lu Cheng's crystal cold light dashed across the ground and instantly hit his opponent. Wherever it passed, it left behind traces of frost, as if it had dragged the autumn into early winter. Lin Kei felt as if he had stepped on a landmine. His left leg was enveloped by a snow-white flame that condensed into a layer of crystal-clear ice. He couldn't help but shiver, and his grasping motion slowed down. Now is the time. Lu Cheng's body swayed and circled to the side of his brother-in-law. His qi, blood, and force were still rushing outwards, propping up his muscles and tendons, making him taller. Bam! His right hand was like a steel whip, whipping downwards with a surge of vibration force. The friction in the air produced a sharp, ear-piercing sound. At this distance, he wasn't worried that Lin Kei would dodge. The scene just now made Li Mao, Sun Jian, and the others stunned. They felt as if they were watching a battle between physical invulnerability experts. Since when could Qing release his supernatural ability of frost? When he fought in the provincial youth tournament at the beginning of August, the last 2 matches were so tough, but they didn't see him use this move. In just a month, his supernatural ability had made another breakthrough and completed a new generation? No wonder Coach Shi asked reporter Shu and the others to leave. This was indeed a secret that could give Shanbei a surprise. In the arena, Lin Kei seemed to be still under the influence of ice burning. He subconsciously pulled back the left side of his body in an attempt to dodge. Lu Cheng's single whip hit him directly in the ribs. Crack! His body trembled violently. His bones, muscles, skin, tendons collapsed and contracted along with his qi, blood, and force. It was as if Lu Cheng had hit empty space. It was extremely uncomfortable, and the vibration from the explosion seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Lin Kei twisted his waist and back, spurting out his big Dan. His muscles bulged one by one, rubbing against the airflow at high speed, creating a sound that converged into a heart-shaking roar. Yin-yang twist, dragon roar. Amidst the roar, Lin Kei used part of his borrowed strength to swing his arms and punch his opponent's lower abdomen within a narrow range. When he was imitating the explosion of the Dan stage, he could still use the meteor force. However, once he completed the real force concentration, he wouldn't be able to do it at the moment. The distance between them was so close that they could hear each other's breathing. Lu Cheng knew that if he had been passive once, he would continue to be passive. In a narrow space, courage was the most important thing. Therefore, he clenched his teeth and made 2 consecutive bursts with the will of the brave. His right arm swelled and lifted, and his fist met the attack head-on. Bang! The air billowed and stirred up a strong wind in the arena. Lu Cheng shook his torso and swung his right arm back, trying to use the force to launch the mega avalanche. However, he felt that everything was empty and powerless. But Lin Kei's body didn't stop trembling. He swayed and bounced like a puppet, condensing the external force and his own strength. With the power of Mount Tai in the North Sea, he turned his body sideways, inflated his martial arts suit, and turned into a shooting star, quickly and violently crashing into his opponent. This was the combination of the dance stage version of yin-yang twist and force concentration. Double explosion. With a rip in the wind, Lin Ke turned into an iron mountain and was about to stick to Lu Cheng. The distance between them was less than a step. Lu Cheng's center of gravity swayed, and he leaned to the side a little. He lowered his body and avoided the sharp edge of the leaning attack. His right leg kicked out, aiming for the opponent's weak point in the lower body. He wanted to take advantage of the situation to make Lin Ke lose his center of gravity and fall down himself. At this moment, Lin Ke's body suddenly stopped, just like at the beginning of the match. He came to a sudden stop. The sound of friction was ear-piercing, and the clear traces were frightening. He gathered his strength and stopped right in front of Lu Cheng's right leg. Immediately after, Lin Ke took a step forward and skillfully bypassed the attack. His left arm, which was dragging behind, hammered out from the bottom. From a standstill to a rapid speed, it was so aggressive that it could shatter gold and break stone. He relied on the mysteries of yin-yang twist and meteor burst to forcefully continue the terror of force concentration and leveraging force until this moment. Facing this, Lu Cheng made a decision in an instant. He returned his qi and blood to his dantian. Expressionlessly, he reached down with both hands and opened up the dark blue veins and small muscles. He grabbed Lin Ke's fist with one hand and pushed it down diagonally with the other. Bam! His right hand was hit and flung back. His 5 fingers couldn't stop trembling. Fortunately, there was a push from the side and a hollow palm to divert the force, so he didn't end up with broken bones. Even so, he didn't dare to take it head-on. Following the momentum of the fling, he took 2 steps back. Lin Ke had succeeded in one move. He stomped his feet hard and rushed to Lu Cheng's front faster than he retreated. At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly sighed and once again used force concentration to return his qi and blood to his dantian, stabilizing his body's center of gravity. His martial arts suit expanded without wind, outlining his muscles. He bounced his left shoulder and shook out his arm. His fist exploded the air and shot towards Lin Ke's chest and abdomen like lightning. Lin Ke blocked the attack with both hands and tried to visualize and adjust his body again, using the yin-yang twist to divert the force. However, without using the dance stage explosion, there was a substantial gap between him and Lu Cheng's attack. He was only able to divert a little of the force and was knocked back. Lu Cheng took a step forward and caught up with him. Thunder Roar Zen combined with continuous explosion and hit him again. Bam! Lin Ke's body trembled violently and his eyes were dizzy. He was frozen in place. Without waiting for his master to announce the result, Lu Cheng withdrew his hand and sighed inwardly. If it weren't for the fact that his brother-in-law's breakthrough to the limit of his body hadn't reached the level of qualitative change and was still at the level of a normal professional 8th pin in the dance stage, he wouldn't be able to perform more continuous explosion. A normal professional 8th pin in the dance stage could perform double explosion at most. Only Zhou Jingquan, who practiced martial arts that nourished his body and improved his endurance, could perform triple explosion. Although Qiu Lin and Meng Jiefeng, whom Lu Cheng had met before, were both professional 8th pin, they were more experienced and their physical state was close to that of a professional 7th pin. Even so, Lu Cheng still had a deep impression of Lin Ke's first wave of combo moves. They showed him a very different fighting style from the past. If it wasn't for the breakthrough in his power of frost and the initial mastery of ice burning, which interrupted his brother-in-law's combo, he would most likely have lost. Is this the strength of a dance stage expert with inheritance? His brother-in-law has such a great performance in actual combat after only breaking through 3 months ago. What about Peng Lian, who was in the dance stage 2 years ago and inherited the unique skills of the Thunder sect, who was about to get the certificate of 6th pin? This wasn't something that could be understood just by watching videos. If he didn't try it himself, he wouldn't be able to understand it deeply. Thinking of this, Lu Cheng, who had been in the mood since he won the youth tournament, completely disappeared. He had underestimated Peng Lian before. He collected his thoughts and calmed down. He looked at Lin Ke, who was standing there in a daze and panting. He smiled sincerely and said, "You have to find a way to make up for your weakness in physical strength." He knew that his brother-in-law was arrogant and autistic, so he might as well give him a suggestion directly. Lin Kei calmed down and didn't say anything. He turned around and walked down the stone steps. When he was about to go down, he stopped and nodded slightly. Lu Cheng exhaled and turned his head to look at Yenjika. He saw that the girl's expression was complicated, full of emotions and sighs. Lin Kei was her idol since childhood. In late September, the military training ended. Yan Shaoling took He Zi and Mu Jinyan to the square in a hurry. Today was the day that all the clubs were recruiting new members. They didn't hesitate. They weren't attracted by the cosplay or the advertisement. They went straight to the booth of the martial arts club and saw many students there, almost lining up. "Oh, you came so early, but you still have to wait." Yan Shaoling rolled her fists under her eyes and pretended to cry. She was already familiar with her roommates. It's because someone got up late. He Zi spread her hands helplessly. She had changed her style today. She wore a cartoon t-shirt, shorts, sneakers and carried a backpack. Only the round glasses on her face were still the same. "Well, I'm too tired after the military training." Yan Shaoling stood in line and saw Kai Zhongming, who was hosting the booth. Just as she was thinking whether to go through the back door shamelessly, Mu Jinyan patted her shoulder and pointed in another direction. "Hey, your idol is here." Idol? Lu Qing. Yan Shaoling quickly turned her head and looked over. She saw the figure that she used to see through the screen appear beside the stall to help. He was more elegant in person. He was alive, he was alive. Yan Shaoling cheered and jumped behind He Zi, turning into a quail in an instant. "What should I do? What should I do? Lu Qing is there. Didn't you say you would rush to Lu Qing and ask for his autograph and photo?" He Zi turned back and asked. I'm nervous, I can't even say a word." Yan Shaoling lowered her head and looked at her toes, peeking at Lu Qing from time to time. Box, help me ask for it, help me ask for it." He Zi stared at her. "If you didn't recognize me as your father, I wouldn't help you." How many fathers have I recognized?" Yan Shaoling thought of this question inexplicably. He Zi took the paper notebook and pen from Mu Jinyan and ran to Lu Qing. She smiled and said, "Hello, can I have your autograph?" Lu Qing had already seen Yan Shaoling, but in order not to expose his habit of reading the fan forum, he pretended not to recognize her. He nodded and smiled. He took the notebook and quickly signed his name. He Zi thought for a while and asked again, "Can you write for the quail?" "Sure." Lu Qing agreed readily to thank Yan Shaoling for her contribution to the forum. He quickly wrote "here" and then froze in place. "What's wrong?" He Zi asked, puzzled. "No, nothing. Let me check my phone." Lu Qing gave a hollow laugh. "Damn, how do I write for the quail?" Chapter 304. Lu Qing pretended to be calm, pretending to reply to a message. He typed the word "quail" on his mobile phone and memorized it in his mind. He wrote it on the tip of his pen, looking very accomplished. Done. He handed the notebook back to He Zi, sweating in his heart. To be honest, he could write the word "quail" when he was in his senior year of high school. But when he went to college, he got used to the keyboard and often forgot to write. That was the most knowledgeable period of his life. He Zi looked at Lu Qing suspiciously and thanked him with a smile. She went back to the end of the line, tore off the signature page and gave it to Yan Shaoling. "Weak chicken," she said. Yan Shaoling was overjoyed and said exaggeratedly, "Box, I admire you. I worship you." Her voice was crisp and delicate, like a primary school student talking. He Zi and Mu Jinyan looked at each other and replied with a blank face, "I don't need weak chicken's admiration." Yan Shaoling was used to being criticized, so she didn't mind. She peeked at Lu Qing and said worriedly, "Why do I feel that his face is a little pale? Is he sick?" With his current physique, it's hard for him to get sick unless he's injured or affected by the unique skills of the plague sect. Mu Jinyan answered calmly. She was a hardcore fan of Lin Kei and treated Lu Qing like a passerby. Maybe something went wrong during training or sparring. He Zi's imagination ran wild as she came up with 100,000 scenarios in her mind. With Lu Cheng's current hearing, he could hear the conversation clearly at this distance. He couldn't help but shake his head with a wry smile. If I hadn't awakened the power of Blaze for the second time yesterday, I wouldn't have been sent here to help little Ming recruit new members because of the backlash and the double prohibition of training by both my master and Coach Yen. Lu Cheng's improvement of his power of frost had slightly changed his root pulp, which further improved his physical quality. He had reached the standard for the second awakening of his power of Blaze a few days earlier than Geysershire had expected at the beginning of October. After this awakening, Lu Cheng's strength, speed, and agility would officially catch up with an ordinary professional 7th pin fighter of the Dan stage. As time passed, the line moved. Yan Xiaoling and the other two came to the booth and faced Kai Zhongming and Li Xiaowen. "Oh, it's you guys?" Xiao Ming smiled amiably and casually handed over 3 membership forms. Yan Xiaoling was not nervous or shy about him. She giggled and said, "Does joining the martial arts club give me an autograph?" She didn't mention Lu Cheng directly because her idol was nearby. "It's a complimentary gift. Come, I'll sign one for you. Keep it well, it'll be worth a lot of money in the future." Kai Zhongming joked. The atmosphere suddenly became relaxed. Yan Xiaoling picked up the pen and began to fill in the form. In the field of martial arts rank, she felt inferior for 30 seconds and drew a slash. "Every time I had a holiday, I would spend most of my time in bed. How would I have the time and energy to exercise? Not to mention practicing martial arts." After she was done, she looked around curiously to see how her roommates were doing. Box, martial arts level, amateur 2nd pin. Jinyan, martial arts level, amateur 3rd pin. Yan Xiaoling opened her mouth little by little and turned it into an O shape. When did they become so powerful? They were all of amateur 3rd pin. I'm the only weakling, at this moment. A joke flashed through her mind. "Thank you roommates for not killing me." Kai Zhongming took back the form and glanced at it. Then he smiled brightly. "Welcome to the martial arts club. When the holiday comes back, we'll have the welcoming party. I'll call you when the time is fixed." "Wow, President, you weren't so enthusiastic before." Yan Xiaoling was surprised and joked. Kai Zhongming put on a serious face and said seriously, "That's nonsense. Isn't that obvious? I've already confirmed your identities through the form. How can I not treat you well?" "What identity?" Yan Xiaoling looked at He Zi and Mu Jinyan blankly and found that they were also confused. "Is my identity of living for more than 10 years actually fake? Am I the biological daughter of Taobao's father?" Kai Zhongming laughed. "The identity of the successor of the communist cause." Not only Yan Xiaoling and He Zi burst into laughter at the same time, but also other students joined in. "This president is so interesting." When the people at the booth were a little less, Kai Zhongming slipped to Lu Cheng and said, "Cheng, the quality of this newcomer is good. Do you mean the martial arts level or the appearance?" Lu Cheng looked at Talker suspiciously. "Damn, how can you doubt my chastity? Besides, aren't we the peak of the appearance? There's your girl Lin Kei and me. We're the super platinum generation." Kai Zhongming struck a pose and said, "It's only been an hour and I've already found 4 newcomers of amateur 3rd pin. Well, their quality is quite high." Lu Cheng's eyes lit up and he praised with joy. The martial arts club in the university was different from the professional teams. Every year, there would be people graduating, so the quality of the newcomers was very important to maintain the competitiveness. Although Lu Cheng and the others could say, "After I die, I don't care about the flood." Once they graduated, they wouldn't have to worry about the aftermath. However, after a year of fighting side by side and the encouragement of, "Come again next time," they had developed feelings for the martial arts club and the school. They consciously took up the responsibility of passing on their knowledge. Generally speaking, they're actually stronger than our batch. Huh, don't look at me like that. When we just started recruiting, you were still a nobody with no rank, strength, and knowledge. Kai Zhongming said sarcastically. That's right. In our batch, other than Lin Kei, who is a professional 9th pin fighter, the strongest one in our batch is only of amateur 5th pin. Lu Qing refused to admit defeat. My brother-in-law can beat 10 people by himself. Kai Zhongming didn't answer directly. He thought for a while and said, I think the quality of the next batch of newcomers may be stronger. Think about it, when this batch of newcomers applied, our martial arts club only participated in the division selection and made it to the knockout round. Lin K, who is about to reach professional 8th pin in Dan stage, has the appeal. You're just a potential genius with abnormal physical strength. You can only attract so many people. Wait until next year, there will definitely be strong newcomers who will consider our school. Well, good results in the national finals and the provision of the internal training method. Just these 2 points alone will definitely make geniuses choose us. Lu Cheng stood up and moved his body, looking forward to the future. Until now, he still didn't think he was a genius, although others kept saying so. After the long vacation, mid-October, the alarm clock rang. Yan Xiaoling woke up from her sleep and struggled to get out of bed. She sat in a daze for a while and finally understood why she woke up so early. This morning was the welcoming day of the martial arts club. She quickly opened Hezi's mosquito net next door and shouted, "Box, box, wake up, wake up." When the mosquito net was opened, there was a black cat sitting on the side railing. It had green eyes and a look of disdain. Yan Xiaoling was stunned for a moment and said in shock, "I knew there was a cat. Box, you are a cat. There are really monsters in the world." Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. She hurriedly turned her head to look at the door, only to see Hezi standing there after washing up. She looked back at the black cat and felt that she had misunderstood something. Idiot. Hezi's mouth twitched. "Ha, I'm kidding." Yan Xiaoling saw the cat jump off the bed and run out of the dormitory. "Box, is this your cat?" "No, we can't have pets in the dormitory. I think it's owned by a teacher in the teacher's dormitory, but it often comes to see me." Hezi's expression softened and her eyes sparkled when she mentioned the cat. "How did you know it?" Yan Xiaoling climbed down from the bed and asked curiously. Hezi recalled and smiled, "It's fate. I was the first one to come to the dormitory, and I didn't know why it ran in. It was trapped behind the cupboard over there and kept meowing. So I dug and dug and dug. I even wanted to tear the bed apart." "And then? You moved the bed and saved it?" Yan Xiaoling asked excitedly. Hezi was stunned for a few seconds and smiled embarrassedly. "No, it jumped out by itself before I moved it. I spent so much effort and wasted so much time sleeping. Why did I do that?" Yan Xiaoling frowned and nodded solemnly. She walked to Hezi and patted her shoulder to comfort her. "I think we can be good friends." After washing up, Yan Xiaoling, Hezi, and Mu Jinyan rushed to the martial arts club. They had never seen Chen Yuni, another student in the dormitory. According to the counselor, she seemed to be sick and had taken a leave of absence. She wouldn't come to see them until she was cured. Due to the existence of 2 Dan stage fighters and the outstanding performance of the previous semester, the martial arts club had not only recruited many freshmen, but also a group of sophomores and juniors. The stadium was filled with people, and the situation was even better than last year. "It's so crowded." Yan Xiaoling looked around excitedly. At this moment, her eyes lit up when she saw Yan Zhika in a white martial arts suit. "Did you see her? That senior is so pretty, even prettier than when I saw her on TV." Yan Xiaoling pointed out to Hezi and Mu Jinyan in surprise. Hezi glanced at her and nodded. "I want to take a picture of her." Yan Xiaoling whispered excitedly. Just then, she saw the fresh and beautiful Yan Zhika turn her eyes and slowly walk towards her. "The closer you are, the prettier you are," Yan Xiaoling said with a smile, but suddenly stopped because she found that Yan Zhika was walking toward her. "Looking for me?" In her surprise and anxiety, she saw Yan Zhika stop in front of her, so she said nervously, "Hello, senior sister." "What's the matter?" Yan Zhika smiled. "Hello, little Changya." Little Changya? Little Changya. Yan Xiaoling was stunned at first, then her mouth opened wide, as if she had turned into a confused cat. She suddenly felt that she didn't know the beautiful senior in front of her. Chapter 305. You know me? Yan Xiaoling came back to herself and stuttered. Even Box and Jean don't know that I have the nickname Little Changye on the internet. My QQ username is Uncle Hua. At this moment, two thoughts flashed through her mind. My identity that I've been hiding for years is finally exposed. I'll confess everything. Seeing Yan Xiaoling's reaction, Yenjika pursed her lips and held back her laughter. After a while, she said, I often lurk in the BBS and have seen many of your posts and photos. I think you're a very cute and interesting girl, so I've been looking for you. She added in her heart, and you're very interesting. Yan Xiaoling was embarrassed by the compliment. I'm not as good as you say. Wait, she must know that I recognize my father and elders, that I'm always self-deprecating, and that I have the nickname of *T moderator! I don't want to live anymore. I'll go back to my dormitory and stay there for half a year. Wait, she's a member of the martial arts club. She often lurks in the Lu Qing forum. She's a pretty girl. Yan Xiaoling was rarely smart. She blurted out, You are. Her voice was so loud that it attracted the attention of the onlookers who didn't know the truth. This woke her up. She lowered her voice and said, Are you on the Lu Cheng's girlfriend account? Otherwise, how could she get the first-hand news of the competition? And she claimed to be a student of Songqing University, a cute girl. Yes, Yenjika answered with a smile. To be honest, it took her a few days to decide to come and greet Yenjika openly. Her boyfriend's female fans were easy to deal with on the internet, but once they appeared in front of her, it would make her feel complicated. Although she often acted rational and mature, she was still a girl who hadn't even passed her 19th birthday. It was inevitable that she would worry and think too much. She even habitually made several plans to deal with different situations. However, after making the plans, she felt funny and decided to make it simple and sunny. She wanted to see if little Changye was as funny as those on the internet. Oh. Yan Xiaoling nodded excitedly. Who would have thought that the martial arts club would have a club member, and a cute girl at that? She was so excited that she couldn't control her mouth and asked curiously, Senior sister, are you really Lu Cheng's girlfriend? Otherwise, how could he have chosen such a username? At first, He Zi and Mu Jinyan were confused by the conversation between the two and did not know how to interrupt. However, when they heard this question, they immediately focused their eyes and focused their minds. Their bodies and minds were clamoring for gossip. Yes. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled calmly. Based on his and Cheng's habit of shamelessly showing off their affection, as long as little Changye joined the martial arts club and insisted on attending one class every week, it wouldn't take long for her to discover this matter. I think you two are a pair. Yan Xiaoling waved her right hand and said happily. I'm so excited. I'm chatting with Lu Cheng's girlfriend. They didn't believe in my intuition. I saw that you guessed so. Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. She took the opportunity to lead the topic to the interesting things in the forum. She was a girl who paid attention to the details of interpersonal relationships. She was careful not to mention the dark history of eternal nightfall, so as not to embarrass her in front of her roommates. However, she underestimated Yan Xiaoling. How could a person who often made fun of herself control her mouth? When it came to familiar things, she immediately revealed her true colors and revealed a lot of embarrassing things. He Zi and Mu Jinyan were not familiar with Yenjika and did not know about Lu Cheng's fan forum. Normally, it would be difficult for them to join the conversation. However, when Yan Xiaoling began to make fun of herself, they couldn't help but ask for details. They chatted happily. When Yan Xiaoling calmed down and realized that something was wrong, she found that her two roommates were looking at her very strangely, as if they were saying, Yan Xiaoling, I didn't expect you to be like this. Ooh, I don't want to live anymore. Yan Xiaoling reached out to cover her face. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed softly. She leaned forward and backward slightly and looked at the time. Little Changye, will you join the special training? Special training? The details of the special training flashed in Yan Xiaoling's mind. Her face turned a little pale. I don't think so. My arms and legs are too small. 4 hours of training every day. I'd rather just kill myself. I'm such a lazy person that I can only eat 1 meal a day in order not to get out of bed. How can I join the special training? After saying that, she felt very regretful and lost. If she didn't join the special training, she wouldn't be able to see Lu Cheng's training posture often and get first-hand news. Yenjika opened her mouth silently, pausing after each word, and then said with a smile, "How about you come to the martial arts club's office to help out when you're free? You and senior sister Wen are in charge of organizing the on-site cheering." Yen Shaoling was pleasantly surprised. "I don't need the special training, and I can come to the martial arts club often. This is a great thing." "Yes, yes, yes," she agreed excitedly. "Remember to find Senior Xiaowen later. She's that one." Yenjika pointed at Li Xiaowen, who was not far away, and asked Yen Shaoling to add her QQ. "Then I'll go first." "Bye, Senior Xiaowen. You're so nice." Yen Shaoling waved excitedly. She and Lu Cheng are a perfect match. Thinking of this, Yen Shaoling took out her phone and posted a post in the forum with an arrogant emoji. "Ha, big gossip, big gossip. But I won't tell you. I don't want to hear it. Get lost." Brahmin, who was waiting for her live broadcast, answered immediately. Yen Shaoling didn't feel that she was being scolded. She said with a squirming emoji, "Brahmin, I really want to tell you, but Senior Xiaowen is so nice. I have to keep it a secret for her. I'm such a soft-hearted person. Senior Xiaowen, is she Lu Cheng's girlfriend?" Okamoto's fan had sharp eyes. I didn't say anything." Yen Shaoling pouted and typed on the keyboard. Really? Really? Is she that pretty member of the martial arts club?" Brahmin guessed from the most probable since the target range was so small. "How did you get it so quickly? You don't feel any sense of achievement." Yen Shaoling sent a crying emoji. At this time, Mu Jinyan, who was beside her, asked in confusion, "Shaoling, do you know how to organize a live cheering event?" She agreed so quickly. "Of course." Yen Shaoling stuck out her chest. "I'm a professional." She could feel that Z and Mu Jinyan did not believe her at all. She added weakly, "Brotherly, you're right." "Fan. Okay, a professional fan." Yenjika walked back to Lu Cheng with light steps. She was thinking about Nightfall's teasing just now with a smile. Why did you go to see Eternal Nightfall?" Lu Cheng asked nervously, although he didn't know why he was nervous. "Can't I?" Yenjika tilted her head with a faint smile. "Of course. No problem." Lu Cheng expressed his opinion first and then said in confusion, "I'm just curious. I thought you would stay away, just like me." He didn't forget to praise himself. Yenjika chuckled and glanced at Lu Cheng's face. "In the beginning, my emotions were quite complicated. Later, I thought it through and felt that it was better to be open-minded. Little Changye didn't let me down. He is really a very funny and honest child. You're talking as if you're very old. Ku, your 19th birthday is still 2 months away." Lu Cheng was relieved and teased his girlfriend. Yenjika bit her lower lip and sighed with emotion. "Cheng, sometimes I'm confused too. Am I too rational, too polite, and too focused on the details of interpersonal relationships? I want to do my best in everything. This time, when I went back to celebrate my grandfather's birthday, I met many relatives. They would make jokes that I didn't like, and they would also introduce young talents to me, saying that they were preparing me for my university graduation. At that time, I really wanted to leave or tell them that I already had a boyfriend, but I felt that it was stupid and impolite, so I could only smile hypocritically and keep quiet. Sigh, I often want to be self-willed and live a self-centered life." During the holiday a few days ago, the martial arts club only had 3 days off because the special training had just started. What's more, it was old Master Ji's 70th birthday, so Yenjika specially went to attend the party. Lu Cheng's short-distance trip plan was ruined before he could make it. Lu Cheng listened to his girlfriend's rare complaint and comforted her in a humorous way. "You're self-willed, aren't you? Your family doesn't allow you to date, but you still date me. How do you feel? How does it feel to be free?" Yenjika glared at him flirtatiously and bit her lip. She turned her eyes to the side and hummed twice. She deliberately made her voice so weak that it was hard to hear. "Not bad." At this time, Kai Zhongming walked up to the arena to host today's welcome ceremony as the club president. Lu Cheng almost burst into laughter when he saw his appearance. Ah, is the still talker? He used to laugh at club president Chen's eyebrows. His hair today is called insects don't fall. Once it falls, it will definitely slide down. Yenjika was also amused. When she was about to join in and make fun of little Ming, she suddenly felt a vibration in her pocket. She took out her phone in confusion and found that Yen Xiaoling had sent her a message with a stammering emoji. Senior sister, let me ask you a question. What kind of person is Lu Cheng? Everyone is very curious. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. She recalled the past and considered her words carefully. Gradually, her eyes became unusually soft. She lowered her head and typed on the keyboard with both hands. She couldn't help but smile. Just like how you used to feel. A very warm, considerate, and attentive boy. As for the fact that he is secretly a clown, I won't tell anyone. Time flew by in the midst of hard training. A week before the professional ranking event, the University Martial Arts Club District Lottery ceremony officially started. It was 2 weeks earlier than last year. Everyone in the martial arts club gathered in the office, waiting for the live broadcast to begin. Lu Cheng and Lin Kei didn't get the invitation because of their poor performance in the last martial arts club. The school sent a teacher as a representative. Chapter 306. In the office of the martial arts club, not only were the old members like Lu Cheng and Lin Kei, but also the new members like He Zi, Mu Jinyan and Wang Dali, who had just undergone special training for 2 weeks. Xu Rui was directing the camera to record their daily life. The weather in late October had turned cold. She didn't wear her business attire when she came here every few days. Instead, she wore a thin and lazy sweater and a knee-length skirt. She looked like a student, and Li Mao, Wang Dali, and the others stole glances at her from time to time. Relax. Don't mind the camera. Just treat us as if we don't exist. Just talk as you usually do. Xu Rui looked around with her bright eyes, looking for something to talk about. No one took her words seriously. Who would want to let their bad side be recorded and broadcasted for thousands of people to enjoy? He Zi and the other new members who had never been interviewed quietly moved their seats and found human bodies to block the camera. Only Geezer sure didn't care. He happily drank his wine and chewed his weird-flavored peanuts. As for Lin Kei, he stood there with his hands in his pockets. His face was as cold as usual, and his lips were tightly pursed. On the computer screen, the guests were still giving their speeches, which made people feel sleepy. Lu Cheng leaned back in his chair and took out his phone. He quickly typed on the keyboard and sent a message to Yenjika, who was beside him. It's so uncomfortable with cameras around. Yenjika had tidied herself up before going out because she knew in advance that Xu Rui would be there. She put something on her face, wore a cotton skirt, and covered her legs with silk stockings. Under the light, her face was like a painting, bright and youthful. Lu Cheng couldn't help but praise her as a fairy. After seeing her boyfriend's action, she took out her phone and read the message. She replied with an emoji of covering its mouth and laughing. Don't you think it's weird? You have to chat face to face with your phone. Can't help it. Who asked the reporters to watch us covetously? Lu Cheng replied with a pained expression. Can't you just hold it in and not chat with me for a while? Yenjika said proudly, but she felt sweet in her heart. Lu Cheng replied without hesitation, no. Yenjika's eyebrows curved as she sent an emoji of touching the head. All right, I'll dote on you. Hee hee, every time you call yourself sister, you are so cute. Lu Cheng said with a smirk. Really? Is this the only time you're cute? Yenjika asked. Sitting obediently and waiting for compliments, not really. You're even cuter when you call me big pervert, replied Lu Cheng. Yenjika bit her pink lips and trembled slightly when she saw the message. She tried very hard to hold back her laughter and the urge to stare at her boyfriend, pinch him, and kick him. She gnashed her teeth and typed on the keyboard energetically. I'm going to call the police. Lu Cheng unconsciously curled his lips and almost laughed out loud. It took him a lot of effort to control his facial expression and continue to flirt with Ku. In the eyes of Shu Rue and the others, they were just playing with their phones out of boredom. Towards the end of the conversation, Lu Cheng thought of something and sent a question mark expression. Cool, isn't it said that after reaching the inhuman level, one's root pulp will gradually change and the offspring may be born with supernatural abilities? Why didn't your cousin awaken anything? During this time, he had been thinking about how to help his brother-in-law improve his physical fitness. As he thought about it, this question came to him. His grandfather was the Shushan study elder Ji Zhenzhang, who had reached the first pin physical invulnerability several decades ago. Her grandmother, Do Ning, was also a physical invulnerability expert and an elder of Shushan study. The offspring of the two should have a higher chance of awakening supernatural abilities. Also, the change in the root pulp of the inhuman stage is very small and unstable. The probability of the offspring inheriting the supernatural ability is very low. Only after they reach the physical invulnerability stage will the probability become realistic. My uncle and aunt were born when my grandfather was in the low Dan stage and the inhuman stage. They didn't inherit the supernatural ability. Or rather, it didn't show up. Only my mother, the youngest daughter, was born after they reached the physical invulnerability stage and then awakened the supernatural ability. Ah, Empress Dowager has supernatural abilities? Lu Cheng was shocked. Yenjika sent a cheers emoji. Congratulations, you got it right. However, Empress Dowager is careless in her martial arts and supernatural ability training. She doesn't put enough effort into it. Her overall combat strength is only weaker than 8th pin. She added, my aunt was born when my grandparents were still at the inhuman level. Perhaps she inherited some altered root pulp. My brother might have awakened some supernatural ability at any time. Logically speaking, the probability of me awakening a supernatural ability should not be small. But I'm congenitally deficient and haven't shown anything. Lu Cheng sent a hug emoji and said, don't be sad. Technology is developing, so is martial arts. Maybe one day your natural deficiency will be cured. You're stealing my words. Yenjika scolded. I'm repeating your teachings, Coach Yen. Lu Cheng took the opportunity to compliment her. Yenjika put her hands on her hips and shook her head proudly. Then she sent a cover mouth emoji and said, actually, I'm not sad about this anymore. I'm used to it. I'm a little glad. Glad for what? Lu Cheng asked blankly. Hee, I'll tell you next time. Yenjika lowered her eyes and replied softly. If it weren't for my natural deficiency, my life would have been different. I wouldn't have stayed in Xioshan to study in high school, and I wouldn't have come to study in Songqing. If that were the case, we wouldn't have known each other, hugged, or kissed. We'd be like passers-by. It's the luckiest thing in my life to be able to meet you in the prime of my life. I'll tell you when we're old and still holding hands. At this time, the guests finished their speeches and the song and dance performance. The mighty one with physical invulnerability for the drawing ceremony walked up the stage. She was the witch Qianhui. She was 27 years old and had reached physical invulnerability in the first half of the year. She was the main force of the second-level Haiyuan Club. They were very likely to enter the top ranks. The reason why the organizing committee invited this new mighty one as a guest was that she had a close relationship with the university martial arts competition. Before a large number of geniuses such as Peng Liyun and Rin Li entered the martial arts circle, Qian Hui was the representative figure of this circle. She was also one of the few cases of people who could walk step by step to the peak of martial arts after studying in the university. She had a considerable symbolic significance and inspired generations of junior brothers and sisters. Qian Hui had a buzz cut and looked like a feminine boy. But her eyes were as deep as the sea and had a strange charm. The host didn't dare to look at her in the eyes. He turned his head stiffly to the side and announced the next procedure. According to the popular saying in Jianghu, the witch had her own hypnotism. While Qian Hui was giving a short speech, the broadcast switched to the stands and swept past the top two teams of the last competition, Shanbei University Martial Arts Club and Sanjiang College Martial Arts Club. Peng Liyun was leaning against the back of the chair. His body was relaxed and his eyes were empty. People who knew him would know that this was his habit and style. People who didn't know him would think that he was arrogant and didn't care about his opponents or the draw. Su Wanyan's eye bags were as heavy as usual. He straightened his back subconsciously and paid attention to the draw that was about to begin. Beside him, Fang Zhirong had many freckles on his face. He was a delicate and pretty boy, but his expression was obviously arrogant. In the seats of Sanjiang College, Chu Hui was wearing a tuxedo. He looked calm, but his hands had changed their posture. They were clasped in front of his stomach and his fingers were clasped tightly. Qian Hui didn't talk for long before she got to the point. On behalf of the organizing committee, she announced the adjustment of the competition format of this university martial arts competition. The first part of the competition remained the same. There were still 4 groups and 4 seeds. The rest of the teams would draw lots for 2 or 3 rounds of single elimination and enter the corresponding groups. The team that drew the left position would have the home advantage. The group competition was still a single cycle, and the top 2 would emerge. After that, there would be cross matches. The first and second would fight, and the top 8 would be eliminated to determine the top 4. At this stage, the elimination system was supposed to continue, and the winners would go to the capital. However, in order to ensure that the strong teams wouldn't be disqualified because of early clashes, the organizing committee made some adjustments. The 4 teams would fight a single cycle, and the top 2 would enter the national finals. In this way, there would be 1 more round of competition. The division competition of this martial arts competition would be held a week earlier, the week after the professional ranking event. Good news! Kai Zhongming didn't hide his smile. This meant that even if they met Shanbei in advance, Songqing University Martial Arts Club would still have a great chance to appear. It seems that we have to fight Shanbei at least once. Li Mao sighed. The top 4 would be in a single cycle. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika looked at each other and smiled. Then he turned to his brother-in-law and made a fist gesture. Peng Liyun arrived as scheduled. Lin Ke took his hand out of his trouser pocket and made a fist as a response. Flames were burning deep in his eyes. Geezer Sher snorted and poured the last sip of wine into his throat. Group A, Shanbei University. Group B, Haiyuan College. Group C, Shannon University. Group D, Sanjiang College. Qian Hui drew the seeded teams first. The top 4 teams were the same as last year, which showed their dominance. The drawing continued. Teams were drawn one by one, each with sadness and joy. Group C, 5th round of elimination. Home team, Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The guest announced with bright eyes. Lu Cheng and Lin Ke were already famous. Group match against Shannon. Yan Zhika whispered to herself, her dimples showing. Shannon and Haiyuan were slightly weaker than Sanjiang, and Sanjiang was much stronger than Shanbei. Li Mao and the others didn't hide their joy. They gave each other a fist bump, forgetting that there were cameras recording everything. Lu Cheng coughed twice, cleared his throat and reminded him, Shannon is not weak either. They should have 3 professional 9th pin fighters this year. And their leading player, Mu Yu, is a supernatural power user, known as the Bane. He's not easy to deal with. Understood. Several members of the martial arts club answered in high spirits. With you and Lin Ke, we don't need to worry about the Bane. At Shannon University, the members of the martial arts club gathered to watch the drawing of lots. When Songqing University entered Group C, they held their breaths, quieted down, and felt depressed. It's okay. Even if we lose, we can still advance as the second in the group. After a long time, Mu Yu comforted his teammates. He was born with an old face. Although he was a young man in his early 20s, he looked like he was in his 40s or 50s. He was often ridiculed as Old Man Mu. His supernatural ability was misfortune. Any opponent who competed with him would inexplicably have bad luck, and when he won the competition, there would be a backlash around him. Among the people he knew, there would be a random person who would be unlucky for 3 days, but the degree was relatively mild. Because of this, the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University had no coach or instructor. Maybe we can win? Captain, I used to believe in science, but now I believe in you. Another leading member of the martial arts club, Lin Xiaoji, tried to cheer everyone up. With a high ponytail, she looked fresh and clean. Around her neck was a necklace with a Taoist amulet. On her left wrist was a consecrated Buddhist bead, and in her right hand was a small cross. Her clothes were embroidered with Arabic characters. She was wearing all kinds of anti-misfortune items from various religions. "Let's fight. We'll know after we fight." Mu Yu clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. The fifth round of the knockout match, the away team. The guest drew Songqing University's first opponent. Guanan School. Guanan School. In the office of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University, Li Mao, Sun Jian, Kai Zhongming and the others were stunned at first, then overjoyed. Last year, the Martial Arts Club couldn't advance in the group because they lost to them. Everyone had been holding a grudge. Now, they finally had a chance to take revenge. Every dog has its day. Lin Ke closed his eyes and put his right hand back into his trouser pocket, clenching it into a fist. Lu Cheng's spirits were lifted. He looked at Yan Zhika happily and smiled at the camera that had turned around. This is a good opponent. Start from where you failed. Chapter 307. In the Jubilant office, Guqin knocked on the table and said with a smile, Senior Sister Lin, tell us about the current situation of the Martial Arts Club of Guanan School. Lin Hua had a close friend in Guanan School who would tell her about the situation from time to time. At this moment, she was thinking and organizing her words. Gu Yu is in his senior year, but he is still a professional ninth pin. It is said that Fei Sanli is close to the level of professional ninth pin, but he hasn't participated in the ranking event yet, so no one knows whether he will succeed. Ji Lan got the certificate of amateur first pin in June, and the new members are the best at amateur second pin. Hearing about the current situation of Guanan School, Li Mao, Sun Jian and the others were stunned, as if they were dreaming. A year had passed. Ji Lan had advanced one pin, Fei Sanli had advanced half a step, and Gu Yu had become stronger, but he still couldn't reach the threshold of the Dan stage. This was a normal change in the martial arts club of a university. But in Li Mu's club, one professional ninth pin, one amateur first pin, and several amateur second pin and amateur third pin fighters had become two Dan stage fighters, one professional ninth pin fighter, and several amateur first pin and amateur second pin fighters. In the martial arts club of Guanan School. Seeing the result of the draw, Ji Lan blurted out, full of fear and frustration, what a coincidence! They had drawn last year's opponent, Songqing University. *CK. Gu Yu bulged his muscles and shook his clothes. He grabbed the cup on the table and smashed it on the ground. In the sound of the cup breaking, several new members stepped back in fear, not daring to face their club president's anger. After Gu Yu strode away, Fei Sanli touched his bald head and smiled bitterly. That's it for this year. I'd better participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin next week. I can't waste time. Let's go. Let's go. He waved his hand and walked out of the office, leaving the new members silent and Ji Lan clenching her teeth. Ji Lan, recite the strength of Songqing University's substitutes. I'm sure they won't let both Lu Cheng and Lin Ke fight against us. Coach Guzhen touched his grizzled hair and sighed. Ji Lan paused for a moment, then took out her phone and opened her notepad. She read weekly, Li Mao, amateur first pin, Sun Jian, amateur first pin, Yan Zhika, amateur second pin but did not attend the amateur ranking event in September, Lin Hua, amateur second pin, Kai Zhongming, amateur second pin, He Zi, amateur second pin, Wang Dali, amateur second pin, Jin Lu, amateur second pin, Guqin, amateur third pin, Mu Jinyan, amateur third pin. After she finished reciting, she silently added in her heart, as for the main force, Lu Cheng was a professional 8th pin fighter of professional 8th pin, and Lin Ke was above the normal 8th pin Dan stage. This was the configuration of the top 4 in the final circle. How were they supposed to fight? Friendship first, competition second? The autumn air was refreshing and the night breeze was chilly. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika strolled along the lakeside hand in hand. They were in a good mood because of the result of the lottery just now. While recalling the past events of last year, they looked forward to the future and outlined their dreams. A gentle breeze brushed past his face, and the water was still. After the discussion, Lu Cheng was about to take a step forward when he suddenly felt a girl tugging at his sleeve. It was a weak tug. "What's wrong?" He tilted his head and asked in amusement. It was rare to see such a girl like this. Yenjika was wearing Lu Cheng's coat. Her glossy black hair hung down to her vest. Her face was fair and delicate. Her eyelashes fluttered a few times, and she said timidly, "Cheng, I need to discuss something with you." "What is it?" Lu Cheng was confused. "I don't want to participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin next week." Yenjika's eyes drifted. "I didn't have much hope in the first place. I just wanted to gain some practical experience for the division contest. But now the martial arts competition will be held a week earlier. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover in time. I can't put the cart before the horse." According to her usual temperament and style of doing things, she should talk about this matter with Cheng rationally and frankly. But somehow, when the words came to her mouth, she inexplicably felt guilty and guilty. Slammed the table. "Why do I feel guilty? Why do I feel guilty?" When Lu Cheng heard about the adjustment of the competition schedule, he had a hunch in this regard. Therefore, he was not surprised. He smiled and said, "Of course. The ranking event of professional ninth pin lasts for 2 weeks and 4 days. There are 3 high-level fights a day. It's too intense. Besides, you don't have abnormal stamina like me. You won't be able to recover in a week." Although he said so, he still felt a little disappointed and regretful. He had been back in Songqing for 2 months and had no private time with Ku. If he couldn't participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin, he couldn't go to the hotel openly. Thinking of this, Lu Cheng added another sentence to show that he didn't mind. He chuckled and said, "Anyway, there will be plenty of chances in the future." Yenjika turned her head and spat at him. She swung her hand and hit him, saying, "What are you talking about? I said there will be plenty of chances in the ranking event of professional ninth pin." Lu Cheng laughed. Before he finished his words, Yenjika suddenly stood on tiptoe, closed her eyes, and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. She deliberately said in a delicate voice, "Darling, you're so nice." Her cheeks flushed. After the kiss, she turned around and ran away, swinging her hands and leaving a clear and melodious laughter. Lu Cheng was stunned for 2 or 3 seconds. He touched the corner of his mouth subconsciously, and then a smile appeared on his face. He strode to catch up with her. Only at times like this, when he had experienced a lot and become more mature, could he see the 19-year-old boy in his heart. Yenjika went back to the dormitory with light steps and opened the door. She didn't want to be teased by Li Liantong, so she preemptively said, "Dirty Tong, you're still memorizing books at this late hour?" Li Liantong screamed, "I don't want to either. I'm in my 2nd year of university. There are more and more professional courses, and they're getting more and more difficult. Damn, that long list of translated Latin words is killing me." Yenjika felt the same. She pursed her lips and said, "So are we. It's not enough to just listen to the classes. We used to go out once a week, but now we have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks before we have time." Of course, this refers to the top 5%. If you just want to graduate and get a diploma, you just need to listen to the classes and study hard before the exam. You can do whatever you want in your daily life. Recently, my dates with Cheng have been more in the self-study room and the library. You only go out once every 2 or 3 weeks. Can your Cheng bear it? Li Liantong turned her head in surprise and started driving out of habit. "What do you mean by bear it? We see each other every day." Yenjika pretended not to understand. Li Liantong clicked her tongue and said, "You've been dating for almost 9 months. Don't tell me there's no progress? I don't believe your Cheng is a monk. As for men, once they have a breakthrough, they'll want more. When they're young and full of vigor, they'll definitely be eager and passionate." Before she could finish her words, Yenjika picked up the decorative landline and said grumpily, "What's wrong? Hello, is this Yaoling? There's a female hooligan here." Their conversation made sure Xiangyang and Zhong Yenru want to laugh. The latter had the best relationship with Yenjika, so she quickly changed the topic. Dirty Tong, I feel that you're wrong. What's wrong with monks? I remember it was written in a book called Water Margin. The first word is monk, the second word is monk, the third word is ghost music official, and the fourth word is hungry ghost in sex. Li Liantong nodded immediately. Yes, yes, yes. There are so many stories about monks. Yenjika was relieved that the topic had changed. While listening to their nonsense, she took out her phone and replied to Lu Cheng's message. At the same time, she checked the forum to see what people thought about the result of the draw. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yen Xiaoling put her post at the top with the title, Martial Arts Club's Draw Reaction Live Broadcast. She wrote in the main post, I'm crying. I'm too scared to go because I'm not a member of the special training team. No, cross it out. I can't enter the office because I'm not a member of the special training team. But I have a spy. Next, let's welcome the reporter from the front, Bao Zi No, the cat reporter from the front, many cats, to report. On the second post, many cats posted. When we drew Guanan School, Lu Cheng looked at Senior Yen for the 28th time tonight, and Senior Yen looked back at him for the 28th time. What? Feeling wronged, Yenjika opened her mouth and looked up. She recalled what had happened that night and counted carefully. Why? There were only 19 times. She looked down and continued to read the report. Lin Kei closed his eyes, put his hands in his pockets, expressionless as usual. Jin kept peeking at him. President Kai Zongming chatted with Senior Li Mao happily, which made Li Mao want to cover his ears several times. Reporter Shu was like a shark that smelled blood, looking from one to another, from another to this. Senior Sister Guiqin gave Senior Sister Lin Hua a bear hug. Coach Sure drank all the wine, turned the small pot upside down, and kept shaking it, but didn't shake out a single drop, so he stayed out of the situation. Looking at the description of these bystanders, Yenjika smiled faintly but still felt warm in her heart. This is our martial arts club. What about your cat reporter? Unparalleled Dragon King asked curiously. Many cats replied, meow meow meow. In the busy and fulfilling days, the university martial arts competition was getting closer and closer. Finally, that Saturday came. Mu Jinyan and Yen Xiaoling, who didn't make it into the competition list, came to the stadium together, only to see that it was crowded with many students. I'm so excited. It's our home ground. Yen Xiaoling jumped around the stands and found a seat. Mu Jinyan was wearing a black-edged white Songqing University martial arts suit with a backpack. When she sat down, she took out a banner with the name Lin Kei written on it, a trumpet, an inflatable hammer, and other cheering tools. Jin, you prepared these? Yen Xiaoling was dumbfounded. Shouldn't I? Mu Jinyan looked at her in confusion. You didn't prepare? Aren't you a professional fan? I'm too excited. Oh, I have to help Senior Sister Wen. Yen Xiaoling was ashamed and ran away from her seat. Fan, Dragon King, Okamoto, Bold Demon King, Naive, Chi-Chi. I've embarrassed the forum. In the locker room of the home team, Lu Cheng and Yenjika sat side by side at the end of the bench, with their backs against the wall. They closed their eyes to rest, waiting for their turn. He vaguely heard the cheering and shouting outside, and couldn't help but recall the situation of the home ground last time. That time, they lost to Wenxing School and Zhou Jingquan, but they weren't disappointed. Instead, they shouted the slogan, next time, in unison. While thinking, he found that the shouting outside was getting more and more orderly and louder. What are they shouting? Lu Cheng curiously tilted his ear and concentrated his hearing. That voice suddenly became clear, and the sound of a tsunami took shape. We're here. We're here. We're here? Lu Cheng suddenly understood what his classmates meant. This was a continuation of the previous cheering. This was an answer to the past. His eyes were warm, and he clenched his fists. Yes, we're here. Sorry to keep you waiting. Chapter 308. The shouts penetrated the door of the locker room, waking up the team members who were resting with their eyes closed. Everyone was moved and excited, as if there was some kind of passion boiling in their hearts. They looked at each other excitedly. Geezer coughed and said, "It's almost time. I'll arrange the order of appearance. Lu Cheng will be the last one to go up today." "Me?" Lu Cheng blurted out in surprise. "Shouldn't it be my brother-in-law to go up and end last year's regret? I'm ready to wave a towel on the bench." At this time, Lin Kei also made a move. He stepped forward and asked, "Coach, I want to go up." Geezer laughed and said, "Are you still holding a grudge over last year's game? Why should you care about this kind of opponent? It's good that you want to win, but don't lower yourself too much. It's settled. You'll be the last one next week." He didn't give Lin Kei a chance to complain and directly made the decision. Lin Kei's rare request was blocked. He tightened his lips and became more silent. Geezer looked around, took a sip of wine, and said with a smile, "You kids can see for yourselves that little Yen is the one with the best performance during the team training. Those two brats are not human at all. She'll be the first one. No one will object, right?" Yenjika was rarely praised by Coach Shi in such a serious way. She couldn't hide her joy. Her eyes sparkled. She pursed her lips and turned her head, looking to the side and secretly reaching out to pinch Lu Cheng's palm. "So happy." Well, Coach Shi's seriousness was only limited to the part where he praised her. Since mastering the internal training method, Yenjika had improved rapidly. Her strength was obvious to all. The team members present all shook their heads to show their approval. For this kind of thing, even if they wanted to go against their conscience, they had to consider the reality. Offending Yenjika was equivalent to offending Lu Cheng. Of course, they didn't know that offending Yenjika was equivalent to offending Lin Quebec. "You're the first one to go up today. Play well and aim to improve yourself. There will be people behind you." Geezer reminded. "Yes, Coach Shi." Yenjika closed her legs and straightened her back. She deliberately acted cute in a military posture. The excitement in her heart was obvious on her face. Geezer smiled and shook his head, as if he was thinking of his daughter at this age. He sighed slightly and turned to Li Mao. "Is there any problem with you being the second one?" Li Mao's nervousness had mostly been cured after numerous actual battles. With Lu Cheng behind him, he felt even less burdened. He replied loudly, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry." After deciding on the order of the main force, Geezer casually pointed at the members and said, "Sun Jian, Lin Hua, Kai Zhongming." Since he couldn't meditate, he had fallen behind Yenjika and Li Mao. Next year, he might be overtaken by Kai Zhongming. Guqing was even more depressed. She felt that her position in the martial arts club was getting more and more awkward. Not only did she not become the main force, but she also failed to be chosen as the substitute. What was more sad was that if it wasn't for the consideration of the old members, she wouldn't even be on the main list. As for He Zi and Wang Dali, the two newcomers were full of curiosity about everything in the locker room. They used their eyes as cameras to record everything they saw. They didn't have any negative feelings. Phew. Kai Zhongming exhaled and whispered, "My preparation was in vain." "What did you prepare?" Lu Cheng turned his head curiously and asked. "I prepared a draft of the dialogue time." Kai Zhongming sighed. "What a pity. My fame has to be delayed." Lu Cheng squinted at him. "You think too much." While they were teasing each other, Geezer asked Jiang Fusheng to write the list of the main force and the substitute and submit it to the competition supervisor. After waiting for less than a minute, he clapped his hands and said, "Okay, let's go." When they were walking to the door, Lu Cheng moved closer to Geezer and asked in a low voice, "Master, there's no difference between me and Lin Kei in this match. Why do you have to stop him?" This was very puzzling, and Coach Yen was also very confused. Geezer snorted. "Haven't you heard of the saying that the most rigid thing is easy to break? You're polishing Lin Kei?" Lu Cheng asked in realization. Geezer smiled. "His temper needs to be polished, or he'll break himself in the future. The key thing will cause too big of a blow, so I have to start with this kind of small thing." "Got it." Lu Cheng stepped back and returned to Yenjika's side, relaying his master's words. Yenjika listened with mixed feelings. After a few seconds of silence, she sighed. My brother is too tensed up. Creak. The door to the changing room opened, and the warm sound from outside rushed in without any obstruction. It poured into everyone's ears and burned their blood. Songqing University. Songqing University. At this time, the students saw Lu Cheng and the others coming out. Their cheers became more and more ferocious, as if they had just finished an outbreak. We're coming. Lu Cheng closed his eyes and tilted his head to look at Yenjika. From her eyes, he read the same thoughts as his. National University Martial Arts Competitions, we're coming. Today's level of competition was not broadcasted on TV, internet, or even prepared and recorded. Only Xu Rui led the team to record the material for the program. She stood at the edge of the stands, feeling the pure madness and wanton in the sound waves. She couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's so good to be young. I used to spend my youth like this too. But now, I have to run around for daily necessities, worry about falling in love, be confused about the future, and have a headache about interpersonal relationships. I'm so busy that I'm physically and mentally exhausted. How can I have the same state of mind as before? However, venting out all the negative emotions that had accumulated in such an atmosphere seemed to be a good choice. Xu Rui's blood began to boil as she listened. She wanted to close her eyes, forget about reality, and scream at the top of her lungs. Not far from her side, Li Liantong and the others were already waving their hands and creating a human flesh forest. In a place further away from her, Zhao Chang and the others were no longer reserved and polite. They were shouting until their faces were completely red. In the locker room of the away team, listening to the noise outside and recalling the previous experience, Guyu spontaneously said in his heart, "That was then, and this is now." He looked at his father and said, "As usual, I'll be the vanguard. You decide who goes first. Even if you lose, you have to lose beautifully." It was obvious that Songqing University would let Lu Cheng or Lin Ke be the last one to train the substitutes so that they wouldn't have to worry about fighting them at the beginning. Based on this, according to normal logic, I should let Ji Lan, a sophomore, be the vanguard to fight more matches, accumulate more experience, and contribute to the renewal of the martial arts club. However, I'm a senior and want to graduate with dignity. I want to draw a perfect conclusion to the last match of the martial arts club with victory. Losing 2 matches in a row to Lu Cheng or Lin Ke is not a failure. In the ranking event 2 weeks ago, Fei Sanli was defeated by a strong group and failed to qualify. He was in low spirits and did not bother to argue with Guyu's arrangement. He glanced at Ji Lan and agreed in a muffled voice. Ji Lan didn't care. She just wanted to broaden her knowledge and gain some experience in fighting with a mighty of Dan stage. They all stood up and walked out of the locker room without the momentum of last year. After the audience shouted the names of the leading players and substitutes, the referee stepped into the ring and made a gesture to both sides. The first match between Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Guanan School. Yenjika versus Guyu. Hearing that it was this beautiful student who left a deep impression on everyone, the audience burst into a climax again. Shouts and trumpets intertwined. Guyu. Lu Cheng didn't show his worry. He looked at Yenjika and said with a smile, "Here comes the challenge." But Yenjika pursed her lips and nodded with a solemn expression. She stood up and high-fived Lu Cheng and Lin Ke before walking towards the stands with her head held high. She had tied up her long hair and looked radiant with bright eyes and white teeth. Guyu didn't expect the girl to be the vanguard and was stunned. When he came to himself, Yenjika was standing in front of him. The referee raised his right hand and said, "Talk time starts now." According to her profile, she is only in the 2nd year of amateur ranking event, but she didn't attend the amateur ranking event in September. Since she can beat Sun Jian, who is in the 1st year of amateur ranking event, she must be at least in the 1st year of amateur ranking event, or even stronger. She looks gentle and delicate, so she must be a well-educated girl. She is definitely not good at quarreling or talking, and is easily affected by words. Guyu thought of this and deliberately grinned. Although there are many female seniors with physical invulnerability, I still have to say that the ring belongs to men. Women shouldn't get involved. A special case is always a special case. Yenjika was infuriated. She wanted to retort, but soon she calmed down. She knew it was impossible for him to have a good debate with her. In terms of cursing, swearing, and provocation, she might not even win against a primary school student. So annoying. He is unreasonable. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes to calm down. Ignoring Gu Yu's following sarcasm, she repeated Lu Cheng's words in her mind. Martial arts competition is not about words. 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 When Gu Yu found that the beautiful girl in front of him was so calm and unaffected, he shut up in time. The 3 minutes were almost over. Yenjika opened her eyes. Her body was in its best condition. The referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Begin. The new National University Martial Arts competition started. Chapter 309. As a fighter with a tough fighting style, Gu Yu was confident that he could defeat such a gentle and pretty girl. Therefore, he didn't back down and launched an attack to warn her. His legs suddenly exerted force and his body leaped out like an arrow. In a flash, he put his left hand forward and turned his shoulder to punch with his right arm. Bang! The wind roared, complementing the roar of the king of beasts in Gu Yu's mind. Black Tiger Steel's heart. Facing such a powerful attack, the seemingly weak and slender Yenjika remained calm. Instead of dodging, she pressed her feet against the ground and channeled her strength to her spine through her ankles, knees, and hips. Then she moved her arms. With a cracking sound, she raised her left arm to block and punched out with her right fist from her chest and abdomen. Strength against strength, strength against strength. The girl's response was out of Gu Yu's expectation, but he was confident and didn't make any changes. Bang! A muffled sound echoed in the air. Yenjika's body trembled, and her shoulders swung backward as if she couldn't bear the opponent's tremendous strength. Although her steps were light and agile, orderly, her face turned red and her center of gravity swayed unsteadily. You want to compete with me in strength? When Gu Yu saw the opportunity, he stretched his tall body and transformed into the god of giant spirits. He strode forward and punched fiercely from the top right to the bottom left with his right fist like a giant hammer. He showed no mercy to the fairer sex. This caused the audience to exclaim in unison. Their hearts were in their mouths as they held their breaths. How could a girl of amateur second pin fight against a professional ninth pin fighter? At this moment, Yenjika suddenly stopped without any warning. Her body kept trembling, and her temples bulged strangely. She braced her legs and lowered her waist into a sitting position, like a wooden figure swinging back and forth. Her right hand clenched into a fist, as if she was moving or blocking the attack. Bang! The sound of collision broke out. Cracks like a spider web appeared at the feet of the two figures. Gu Yu was surprised to find that Yenjika's punch was not much weaker than his own. Together with her blocking skills, they were evenly matched. How could it be? While he was still in shock, he saw the girl lean back slightly and draw out her left foot with borrowed strength. Bang! Her straight and slender leg tightened and turned into a scalp-numbing whip. It went straight for Gu Yu's knee, making his pupils shrink to the size of needles. Endless brutal blizzard. This also caused the surrounding students' exclamations to come to an abrupt halt. Each and every one of them had an astonished expression. They never thought that the gentle and weak girl would actually be able to fight evenly with the tall and strong muscular man, and even take the initiative to counterattack. In the beginning, Yenjika chose to resist Gu Yu's attack with her feet because she wanted to test her own strength. Of course, she only dared to do so because she was quite confident. Lu Cheng was sure that her physical quality was close to professional ninth pin. After a punch, she finally determined her own condition. Her strength was not as good as Gu Yu's, but it was not so bad that she could not make up for it. She could steadily block his attack by taking a step back. The reason why she took a few steps back was that she had used the yin-yang twist, which she had improved by leaps and bounds in the past few months. She borrowed her opponent's strength to fill the gap between them and found the opportunity to use the 24 blizzard strikes. And once the blizzard arrived, the more they fought, the stronger and fiercer it became. Guyu didn't have time to think. Facing the whipping kick with explosive airflow, he could only tighten his thighs and twist his hips to resist. Bang! Yenjika spread her legs. In her mind, she thought of the continuous blizzard. Her toes touched the ground quickly, her spine straightened, her body leaned forward, and her right arm pulled back like a bow shooting a tiger. Bang! Her fist swung out violently like a drill bit. Guyu was deeply impressed by Lin Kei's 24 blizzard strikes. He knew that he couldn't let his opponent accumulate momentum and become crazier. He had to interrupt her or he would be in great danger. His arm muscles bulged and he swung his waist and back, lashing out at her fist like a whip. He wanted to withdraw immediately to prevent his opponent from borrowing too much strength. Bang! Just as the single whip hit his right fist, Guyu quickly retracted his arm and tried to change his position to disrupt the girl's brutal blizzard. But Yenjika's body trembled again. Her right arm mechanically swung backward like a lever and raised the other side to attack. Bang! She shook her left arm and turned it into a big spear. With a crisp sound, she pointed it at Guyu's throat. The whistling wind and falling blizzard didn't stop at all. The more they fought, the stronger they became, leaving no chance for her opponent to dodge. The combination of yin-yang twist and 24 blizzard strikes. How could this work? How could she borrow strength to attack? Guyu's scalp tingled and he was inexplicably frightened. He didn't dare to look down on the gentle and delicate girl in front of him anymore. He braced himself and swung his left fist with explosive strength. He couldn't go on like this. After 2 or 3 moves, she would be able to suppress him in terms of strength and momentum. All resistance would be eliminated in the vast blizzard. He had to use his trump card to fight back. Last year, he was defeated by Lin Quebec. The memory of the 24 blizzard strikes was still fresh in his mind. He had been thinking hard about how to solve the problem if he accidentally fell into a disadvantageous position. Apart from using temporary explosive moves or the deafening sound skill to stop the fight, there was another way, which was to catch. Catch the opponent's arm and break their connection. Guyu didn't know the deafening sound skill, the secret skill, the blast punch, or the bear form. He was good at catching, which he had used to defeat Lin Quebec. Therefore, he worked hard in this aspect and felt that he wouldn't be at a loss if he was in the same predicament again. Now was the time. With a dignified expression, he hit the air with his left elbow and blocked Yenjika's attack from the side with his fist. Then, with a bang, he used the abrupt force and clasped the girl's forearm with 5 fingers. So what if you're at the initial level of meditation? I can also conceal spirit and chi, and my listening skill is not much worse than yours. Oh no! Concerned shouts came from both sides of the stands. Lu Cheng crossed his arms and stood in front of the seats without anyone noticing. Guyu was overjoyed. He was about to shake all the joints in his body to tear his opponent apart when Yenjika suddenly took a deep breath. Her temples bulged and the skin on her left arm tightened. Her skin tightened, expanded, and bounced. Guyu's 5 fingers couldn't exert force and slipped to the side temporarily. The girl seized the opportunity and shook her forearm to break free from his grasp and grabbed his wrist instead. Yenjika had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. As a girl who liked to make plans, how could she not be prepared for encountering Guyu? She knew that with her current physical condition, it was almost impossible for her to finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes with the help of the yin-yang twist. Just like her cousin Lin Kei last year, he could only finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes. If she were to fight Guyu head-on like this, she might not be able to hold on in the end. Therefore, she used the yin-yang twist mixed with the 24 blizzard strikes to scare Guyu. She took advantage of the fact that he didn't know her well and was eager to get out of the predicament and induced him to use his best catching skill. The Ji family had its own way of catching. Lin Kei had used it to deal with Lu Cheng before. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, victory and defeat were reversed. The spectators were dumbfounded as they shouted in silence. Guyu's 5 fingers clasped together. Guyu was frightened. His arm suddenly went soft and then tightened and shook. Yenjika heard his movements. She pressed and pushed with her left hand as if she was doing Tai Chi, perfectly neutralizing his struggle. Then she lifted her waist and kicked out her right leg, forcing Guyu to raise his leg to meet it. Bam! Pulling back his legs, Yenjika took advantage of the force to open his joints. His body shook, and the 5 fingers of his left hand pulled fiercely, like a tiger biting its prey. Ah! Guyu screamed in pain. His arm muscles were twisted and his bones were dislocated. While he was screaming, Yenjika pulled back her left arm and turned her body sideways. She visualized the scene of snow collapsing and crashed into him fiercely. The mighty mega avalanche. Bam! Her fatal hit was blocked by the referee. Guyu's facial muscles twitched and he grimaced in pain. First round, Yenjika wins. The referee raised his right hand. I actually lost. I actually lost to a woman who is obviously not as good as me. Guyu forgot about his pain and stood there in a daze. Is this the end of my 4-year martial arts career in university? Yenjika was overjoyed. She turned around and waved her right fist at the home team seat. I won. I won. Cheng, I defeated a strong professional 9th pin fighter. Lu Cheng smiled and clenched his fist. He echoed her words with some inexplicable feelings in his heart. Since the beginning of their relationship, he had gradually taken over Ku's training and learning from each other. It could be said that he had guided her growth step by step. Now, seeing that she had the strength to enter the 9th pin and had defeated a strong enemy that he had never dared to imagine, he was both satisfied and amazed. Ku had unknowingly become stronger. What the hell are you thinking about? Kai Zongming stood beside Lu Cheng and asked curiously. How do I put it? Lu Cheng gave an analogy. Seeing Ku defeat Guyu is like seeing my daughter grow up day by day. Do you understand this feeling? Kai Zongming thought for a while and squinted at him. He spat out 2 words, pervert. F***ck, a pervert is a pervert. Lu Cheng was almost amused by him. At this time, Ji Lan walked quickly to the ring under the signal of the referee and the chorus of Yenjika from the audience. Seeing this, Lu Cheng took a step back and came to Lin Kei's side. Just wait and see. I may not have a chance to fight. Maybe Ku and Senior Li Mao will finish them all. There is no need to worry about such a strong opponent. He comforted his brother-in-law. He didn't say any great principles but only facts. In his mind, his brother-in-law was a capricious guy who said, I understand all the principles you say, but I just don't listen. Lin Kei nodded imperceptibly, and his expression was less tense. I thought you'd open your mouth and say a few words. Lu Cheng was delighted at his little fairy's victory and was in a good mood. Lin Kei glanced at him and said calmly, I don't want to do crosstalk. What? Lu Cheng was confused. Kai Zongming beside him said thoughtfully, I feel that he is mocking both of us. Chapter 310. Lu Cheng was enlightened. He looked at Kai Zongming and said, It's not a feeling, it's a fact. Damn it, I was ridiculed by my brother-in-law. I thought he was a cold and serious person. Kai Zongming chuckled. With his back to Lin Kei, he raised his eyebrows and said, Cheng, go. Beat him up. He knew that at this distance, no matter how low his voice was, it couldn't escape Lin Kei's ears. He just wanted to be funny and liven up the atmosphere. You're making it sound like a dog biting someone. Lu Cheng looked at him with disdain. Why don't you do it yourself? Do it myself? Then should I beat him up? Or should I ask for a beating? Kai Zongming spread his hands. I thought of that joke. A hunter hunting a bear. Lu Cheng pursed his lips and held back his laughter. He didn't continue. Kai Zongming was well informed about such jokes. He didn't need to finish listening to them to understand. He also trembled and almost burst out laughing. Bitch, in his heart. At this time, Ji Lan finished the stone steps and stepped into the arena. She stood opposite Yenjika. Seeing her, Yenjika suddenly had an idea. Should she leave the arena now and give the opportunity to senior brother Li Mao to help him get rid of his worries and complete his reincarnation? In December last year, Li Mao was too nervous and lost to Jilan. That was why Songqing University Martial Arts Club's hope of advancing to the next round was lost. While thinking, she rejected the idea. She felt that it was too ritualistic. It was not only disrespectful to Ji-lan, but also put more pressure on senior brother Li Mao. Maybe it would be self-defeating. Just let nature take its course. Yenjika sighed silently. She seized the last bit of time to continue recovering her body. Although the battle just now didn't last long, the high-intensity battle with the senior professional ninth pin still took a lot of energy out of her. Especially during the process of painstakingly creating an opportunity, she was highly strung. Once it was over, it was inevitable that she would feel tired. When she exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, the referee raised his right hand and announced, "Begin the second round." When Ji-lan first collected information about Songqing University Martial Arts Club, she found that Yenjika didn't participate in the amateur ranking event in September. She had suspected that Yenjika might have surpassed the level of amateur first pin and would reach the level of professional ninth pin in late October. However, it seemed that Yenjika didn't sign up, which made Ji-lan uncertain about her speculation. She thought that she was overthinking. Unexpectedly, Yenjika really had the strength of professional ninth pin and even defeated the team leader Guyu in a head-on battle. The members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club were all monsters. Ji-lan changed her mind and chose the guerrilla fight that she was best at. She nimbly moved to Yenjika's side, slid close to her, and gave her a low kick, which made a crisp sound. Yenjika swung her right shoulder backward and pulled her body to face Ji-lan. She took advantage of the situation and whipped out her leg, which tore the air and made a sharp sound in the ring. Bang! When the two legs collided, Yenjika quickly swung her right leg back and used the momentum to punch Ji-lan's abdomen. Ji-lan knew how terrible the 24 blizzard strikes was. Once they collided, she immediately used the momentum to retreat. Her footwork was light and coordinated, leaving no chance for her opponent to follow up. Seeing this, Yenjika arched her feet and rushed forward silently, quickly chasing after her opponent. One of them retreated and the other advanced. The distance between them narrowed quickly, as if they were dancing. During this process, Ji-lan changed her direction several times, but she was not as agile as Yenjika, who had begun to control her center of gravity. She could not get rid of her opponent and was about to be attacked. At this moment, she suddenly stopped, which made Yenjika unable to stop in time. Yenjika took a step forward, and the distance between them was less than an arm's length. With a bang, Ji-lan raised her right leg high and kicked her opponent's chin as fast as lightning. Her movement was like the kind of movement in dance where one would raise one's leg and press it against one's shoulder to stretch the ligaments. But such a fierce and fast force would hurt the body and make it unstable if one's ligaments, fascia, and muscles had not been trained to a certain level. This kick came suddenly and without warning, like an assassin's attack. Yenjika's back was covered in cold sweat, and she realized that she had been careless. In a split second, she used her waist as a fulcrum and leaned back, trying to avoid this dangerous kick. At the same time, she raised her hands according to her usual practice to resolve the follow-up killing move. Bang! The shadow of the kick flashed in front of Yenjika's eyes, and the sound of the wind hit her face. After the kick missed, Ji-lan exerted strength in her waist and back, pulling the right leg that was raised high, and made an aggressive axe chop, swinging it between her opponent's chest and abdomen. Serial kick technique. Yenjika half raised her body and raised her hands in time. One of her arms was raised to block the back of her opponent's Achilles tendon, while the other hand was empty and pushed to the side. As soon as the two sides touched, she lowered her arms to reduce the force. Together with the push from the side, she barely blocked the axe kick. Just when the spectators were relieved, Ji-lan took advantage of Yenjika's block and leaped into the air. Her left leg flew out and kicked at her opponent's body. Triple kick technique. Seeing that Yenjika couldn't raise her hands or legs to block the attack and was in imminent danger, she bounced her waist and straightened her body with great strength. Taking advantage of this momentum, she pulled back her arm that was blocking Ji-lan's tomahawk chop. With a flip and a push, she forcefully shook off Ji-lan and threw her far away, avoiding the fatal kick. After the 3 consecutive kicks failed to hit the target, Ji-lan immediately changed back to a wandering battle. She moved her legs and kept changing her position, From time to time, she would close in and kick, low, sideways, and roundhouse kicks. Yenjika also calmed down and countered the moves as they came, but she didn't give up the previous fighting style. Once she found an opportunity, she would chase and attack, but she was more cautious in her mind. During the chase and the exchange of blows, she locked onto her opponent again. Relying on her own flexibility, she gradually narrowed the distance between her and Ji-lan, making it impossible for her to get rid of her. Ji-lan gritted her teeth and suddenly jumped up. She kicked her legs quickly, fiercely, and fiercely. "I've been waiting for you." Yenjika had watched Ji-lan's competition videos and had the previous experience, so she was prepared for this. Her spine suddenly bounced like a dragon breaking out of its shackles. She stretched her muscles and bounced her waist and back, forcibly changing her center of gravity. She pulled her body back and dodged to the side, dodging Ji-lan's consecutive kicks in the air. Seizing the opportunity, she stretched out her hands and pushed to the side of Ji-lan. Ji-lan immediately flew diagonally and fell down. With a shake of her feet, Yenjika rushed forward. Before Ji-lan could steady herself, Yenjika put her right foot in between her legs and leaned forward, making Ji-lan completely lose her center of gravity and fall backward. Yenjika caught Ji-lan with her left hand and straightened her body. With a shake of her right arm, she punched Ji-lan's temple with a bang. Round 2, Yenjika wins. The referee shouted loudly. Yenjika retracted her hand comfortably. She gasped for breath and felt that she was almost at her limit. In the battle just now, she was so focused that she didn't think about this problem. She just wanted to defeat Ji-lan before she really couldn't hold on anymore. Ji-lan glanced at her and sighed dejectedly. She shook her head and turned back to the stone stairs. Fei Sanli touched his bald head and stood up helplessly. Gu Zhen and Gu Yu also looked gloomy. If this situation continued, their martial arts club might not even be able to see the leader of the other side. That would be too shameful. Without waiting for Fei Sanli to come to the arena, Yenjika waved to the audience on both sides with a sweet smile and left the arena amidst waves of cheers. Lu Cheng walked up to her, extended his fist, and bumped it with hers. He praised her sincerely. Awesome. Before this, he thought that Yenjika's achievement would be perfect if she could defeat Gu Yu. Unexpectedly, she defeated 2 opponents in a row. Yenjika smiled and raised her chin. She said, "Do you admire me?" "Yes, very much." Lu Qing answered with a smile. He didn't care about Shu Rui, who was recording the match nearby. This reporter should have known about his relationship with Yenjika. After all, she almost stopped them from being intimate. At this time, Li Mao left his seat and walked to them. "Come on." Lu Cheng and Yenjika bumped fists with him. Since Li Mao and Fei Sanli were new to the arena, they didn't need to recover their strength. The referee asked the staff to clean up the arena. Li Mao stood in a clean and empty place. Looking at the bald martial artist not far away, he couldn't help but think of the past. He sighed. At that time, he was trembling with fear and nervousness. At that time, he was filled with self-blame, regret, and pain. He really did not expect his current situation at all. Nervousness almost didn't affect the match. He even had a chance to reach the professional 9th pin. He closed his eyes and recalled Coach Shi's consolation and guidance, Lu Cheng's persuasion and encouragement, and the understanding and support of the special training members of the martial arts club. Thank you all. At the home team's seats, Lu Cheng sat down with the exhausted Yenjika and looked up at the arena. What is senior brother Li Mao thinking about? He saw Li Mao with his eyes closed and gossiped out of boredom. Kai Zhongming took the initiative to answer, maybe he's thanking the country, the TV station, Songqing University, or something like that. Don't talk nonsense. Lu Cheng glanced at him. You know it's nonsense? We can't read senior brother Li Mao's mind. How can we know what he's thinking? That question of yours was wrong to begin with. Kai Zhongming chuckled. After listening to their crosstalk for a while, Yenjika leaned over and whispered in Lu Cheng's ear, "Do you think senior brother Li Mao can win?" There's hope. Although senior brother Li Mao has only started the internal training method for a month and is still at the level of a strong amateur first class, and Fei Sanli is almost at the level of a professional 9th class fighter. But he participated in the ranking event and fought a few days of high-intensity matches, so he won't be in good condition. Let's say 60-40. Senior brother Li Mao, 40-40. Lu Qing analyzed. It sounds like you want senior brother Li Mao to lose? Yenjika opened her eyes and said with a smile. If he loses, I'll have a chance to fight. Lu Qing said with a smile. Yenjika pursed her lips and looked at him from the corner of her eyes. She said with a smile, is it interesting for you to bully a potential professional 9th-class fighter after a hard fight? Lu Qing thought for a while and sighed while covering his face. It's not interesting. Chapter 311. When the ring was cleaned, the referee let Li Mao and Fei Sanli get closer to each other. Then he raised his right hand and announced the start of the match. Li Mao had succeeded in meditating for several months now. He no longer had a superficial understanding of the 24 blizzard strikes. He was ready in both form and spirit. Therefore, he took the initiative to step forward, trying to seize the opportunity to attack and find an opportunity to use his moves. At this moment, his body was slightly trembling with a little bit of nervousness. But this was not the abnormal behavior that affected his judgment. It was the normal psychology of wanting to win and fearing to lose, which stimulated the secretion of hormones and nerves. Fei Sanli had anticipated Li Mao's opening attack. He didn't play guerrilla warfare or avoid the sharp edge of the 24 blizzard strikes. He lowered his head and bulged his muscles. He turned into a bison and rushed to meet Li Mao's attack. His bald head reflected the light in the room, creating a bit of ferociousness. When the two were about to collide, Fei Sanli suddenly turned sideways, raised his left arm, and waved his elbow to hit Li Mao's chest. Li Mao was not in a hurry. He visualized the mega avalanche and raised his arms, one supporting and the other pushing. He firmly blocked Li Mao's elbow attack and took advantage of the momentum to tighten his waist and back, ready to counterattack with his leg. But Fei Sanli was not easy to deal with. He followed Li Mao closely. With the help of the collision, he swung his waist and waved his right fist toward Li Mao's face, aiming at the bridge of his nose and the space between his eyebrows. Li Mao straightened his spine and channeled his strength to shoot out his left arm to block in front of his face, firmly protecting himself. Bang! The punch made a muffled sound and stirred up the wind. At this distance, Li Mao's eyes were the first to be affected. He subconsciously became weak to avoid the wind blowing in and irritating his eyes. This was the effect Fei Sanli wanted to achieve. While Li Mao's line of sight was blocked, he used his left elbow as a fulcrum to fling out his forearm. He spread his 5 fingers and fiercely and quickly slapped Li Mao's throat. Originally, he could have used this move from the very beginning, but he patiently waited until the enemy's eyes were blown by the wind, then he leisurely used it. For a moment, Li Mao couldn't see clearly and lost confidence in his judgment. He couldn't help but feel a little scared. He didn't dare to take the blow head-on. He exerted strength in his legs and jumped back a big step. He quickly adjusted his muscles in an attempt to control his center of gravity in the shortest time possible. How could Fei Sanli let go of this opportunity? Since his attack missed, he quickly closed in on his opponent. Then, with a burst of strength from his shoulders, he turned his palms into knives and chopped down from both sides. Li Mao had just steadied himself and opened his eyes again. He didn't have time to dodge, so he could only shake his arms and swing them out to meet the enemy's palm blade. During the exchange of blows, Fei Sanli's palm blade changed from a chop to a press. He pulled his waist, thighs, and pulled out his left foot, straight between his opponent's legs. His left leg tightened into a whip, tearing the air along the way, making Li Mao's hair stand on end. He suddenly turned his waist, the lower half of his body diagonally facing the enemy. Then he lifted his right leg and bent his knee for a short strike. This series of attacks caused him to be a little flustered and frightened. Fortunately, he did not lose his composure and was unable to respond in time. Bang! In the muffled sound, Li Mao borrowed strength and kicked his right foot down. He was about to lean forward and punch to counterattack with the momentum of brutal blizzard. However, when Fei Sanli saw that he could not succeed, he sensibly dodged and circled behind Li Mao, not giving him a chance to counterattack. Seeing this, Li Mao restrained his impetuous feeling and calmed down. He adjusted his position and countered the attacks as they came, but at the same time, he did not forget to look for opportunities to create a situation suitable for himself. Pa-pa-pa. Bang bang bang. The two sometimes fought hand-to-hand and sometimes separated. Fei Sanli was shrewd and sleek, firmly controlling the rhythm and not letting Li Mao use 24 blizzard strikes more than twice. They fought fiercely for several minutes, which made the students feel satisfied. From time to time, they blew their trumpets and banged their inflatable hammers, as if they were here to celebrate a festival. Li Mao thought that Fei Sanli had only played a few matches of professional ninth pin and had only recovered for less than a week, so he did not rush to attack. He fought in a well-behaved manner, waiting for an opportunity to come. While they were fighting, he suddenly saw the bald man's knees soften and his sliding steps stagnate. Opportunity! Li Mao was refreshed. He took a big step forward, exerted strength under his feet, spread his right arm, and blasted a blast punch forward. Fei Sanli quickly lowered his center of gravity and raised his arms to block. Bang! Li Mao's right fist failed to break the opponent's stance and bounced back. But in his mind, he had already visualized the scene of a blizzard. He slightly changed his posture, adjusted his muscles, and used the force to shake out his left arm. He stabbed at the enemy's throat like a big gun. Fei Sanli's eyes did not move, but his other hand clenched into a fist and punched back the blow. The brutal blizzard did not stop once it started. Li Mao took advantage of the situation and kicked with a whistling sound. But right at this moment, his thighs suddenly felt sore and weak. His strength paused and he almost fell down. Fei Sanli smiled and leaned forward. He stretched out his right hand, opened his 5 fingers, and pinched Li Mao's neck. Humph, who doesn't know that 24 blizzard strikes is a test of endurance? I let you hit so many times in order to exhaust your physical strength and push you to the limit step by step. In the end, he purposely showed a flaw, forcing you to use brutal blizzard again. And at this time, how many moves can you make in your current state? Hee, if you continue to fight steadily, I will have a flaw, and the winner will be uncertain. The referee raised his right hand and announced the result. Fei Sanli wins. Hearing this, Fei Sanli withdrew his right hand and looked at Li Mao with a smile. Boy, you are still too inexperienced. Although we are all juniors, I have been through hundreds of battles. Li Mao exhaled, feeling a little lost and sad, but more of self-examination and reflection. He did not feel the pain. In a martial arts competition, there was no such thing as only winning and not losing. And Fei Sanli was indeed better than him. He turned and walked to the stone steps, while the students in the stands cheered and encouraged him. Li Mao, come on. You fought well. They were very confident about the final result, and the temporary failure did not affect their mood at all. Hearing these cheers, Li Mao smiled and raised his hands to thank them, without any guilt or pressure. In the home team seats, Lu Cheng looked at Yan Zhike and said with a smile, "It seems that I have to bully the weak." Yan Zhike rolled her eyes at him and hummed, "If you can't win in 3 moves, don't come back." She reached out and high-fived Lu Cheng. 3 moves? You are too lenient to Cheng, aren't you? Kai Zhongming interrupted, "I'll bet on 1 move." Bet on what? Lu Cheng did not rush to the arena, but bumped fists with his team members one by one. Kai Zhongming said without hesitation, "Bet on my integrity. Don't you go easy on me." Forget it. What's the point of betting on something you don't have? Lu Cheng tidied his sleeves and walked to the stone steps. Seeing him, the whole stadium suddenly became noisy. Yan Shaoling standing in the aisle, Zhao Chang, Li Liantong and the others in their seats all raised their voices and shouted a name. Lu Cheng. The sound was overwhelming, as if they were welcoming their hero. Lu Cheng waved his hand and walked along the road to the stone steps. Mu Jinyan in the stands stamped his feet and complained that Coach Shi did not let Lin Ke go. Standing in front of Fei Sanli, Lu Cheng looked calm and his eyes were clear. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. I'll do my best." This was the respect for the fighter. Don't worry? I don't King feel relieved at all. Please don't respect me. Fei Sonli took a deep breath and saw the referee raise his right hand again. He shouted, "Start!" He did not even bother to say which round it was. Anyway, it was the last round. Fei Sonli knew that he was exhausted and did not struggle. Anyway, it was not shameful to lose to Lu Cheng. Even in his best condition, there was a huge gap between him and Lu Cheng, let alone now. He abruptly took a few steps forward, swung his arm, and punched out powerfully. Lu Cheng smiled. He opened his right hand and grasped Fei Sonli with his palm. When they touched, Lu Cheng suddenly reversed his qi and blood and condensed them in his lower abdomen. Fei Sonli suddenly felt his fist sinking into nothingness. It was soft and powerless. Then he saw the enemy's arm bulging and felt a violent and majestic force surging toward him. It was as if he had encountered a real dragon that had ascended to the sky. Lu Cheng's dantian qi gushed out. He swung his waist and back, shook his arm and threw Fei Sonli high into the air. Fei Sonli entered the state of cloud riding without resistance. He quickly adjusted his center of gravity and tried to stabilize his body. But he was surprised to find that he did not lose his balance at all. He just flew up. Bam! He landed firmly on the ground and saw the edge of the arena. He saw it from the outside. He was thrown out of the arena from the center position. He did not know how many meters he flew, but his center of gravity was stable and he did not stagger. His ability to lift something heavy as if it were light was simply terrifying. Fei Sonli looked up in surprise and saw Lu Cheng had put away his stance and was standing there leisurely. At this time, the referee announced the final result. Lu Cheng wins. Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. The students were stunned by the scene just now. They had a feeling that it was unscientific. Only when they heard the referee's voice did they come back to their senses. They blew their small trumpets to create a lively atmosphere. When Lu Cheng turned around and left the arena, they shouted in unison, "Lu Cheng! Lu Cheng! Lin Ke! Lin Ke! Songqing University! Songqing University!" Enjoying the atmosphere, Lu Cheng returned to his seat and said to Yenjika with a smile, "One move." Yenjika snorted and turned her head with a smile. Then she looked at the arena and both sides. She suddenly thought of the next division and the final round in April next year. At this time, Shu Rui came over with her team to record the details of their celebration. "Lin Ke, I rarely see you play with your phone." She glanced at the expressionless young man who was typing on the screen. Lin Ke looked at her and did not answer. He continued to type in the search box. "What's the joke about the hunter and the bear?" Chapter 312. After a round of greetings, the members of the martial arts club returned to the locker room joyfully. Shu Rui, leading the team, followed them in with a smile. "Just do what you need to do. Just pretend that we don't exist." After applying, she got Geezer Sher's permission to enter the locker room for the next few matches and shoot some material to enrich the details of the documentary. Hearing her words, everyone looked at each other and secretly complained, "We are not exhibitionists. How can we act as usual in front of the camera?" Especially Lu Cheng, he was even more depressed. "Well, the good thing of applying ointment for my fairy is gone." He didn't want to take advantage of her. After all, there were many unfamiliar junior brothers and sisters in the locker room. It would be awkward to be too close to Yenjika. He just wanted to treat it as a warm and sweet daily routine. However, a group of uninvited guests came and he had to do his own thing. Yenjika looked at him subconsciously and seemed to notice something. She rolled her eyes, bit her lips, turned her head, and said in a low voice, "I'm in a good mood. Let's go for a walk tonight." Did Ku misunderstand something? Well, it's a good misunderstanding. A smile appeared on Lu Cheng's face as he agreed. But the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The wind by the lake was cool. Yenjika put on her boyfriend's coat and held his forearm. She walked slowly on the path with faint sounds of water. She raised her head slightly and said with excitement and longing, "Ching, what do you think we can do in this martial arts competition?" Her hair was slightly messy, her face was bright red, her pink lips were moist and glossy, and her eyes were bright and watery. Lu Cheng put one hand in his pocket and felt refreshed. He thought for a while and said with a smile, I'm only telling you. I won't tell anyone else. Otherwise, I'll be laughed at. My goal is to be the champion, the national champion. What a coincidence. Yenjika replied with a smile and a look of surprise in her eyes. She raised her voice at the end. I know Shanbei is very strong, Capital College is strong, Huahai and Guangnan are not weak either. In other people's eyes, they can firmly suppress us. But I still want to win and I think we have a chance to win. Lu Qing didn't hide his chest in front of his girlfriend. That's right, next April, who knows how much you and my brother will grow. But we can't be careless. It's said that Chu Hui of Sanjiang has become much stronger, and Shannon is not easy to deal with. The two of them walked along the lakeside and weaved their future together. They were in high spirits and seemed to have endless topics to talk about. As they approached the long bridge, they suddenly saw a familiar figure standing by the railing of the wooden platform. Qing? Yenjika tried to call her with uncertainty. Guqing turned around abruptly and wiped the corners of her eyes in a panic. She laughed dryly and said, Cheng, what a coincidence. I thought I recognized the wrong person. Yenjika chuckled at first. Then she noticed that something was wrong with Qing and asked with concern, Qing, what's wrong? They were all crying. Guqing lowered her eyes and clenched her fists. I don't want to. I want to quit the special training. Lin Sanjiu was thinking if she should ask Qing to leave first so that Qing wouldn't feel embarrassed to talk to her. You don't want to join the special training? But Yenjika blurted out. Lu Qing was also surprised. Why did Guqing suddenly want to quit the special training? Guqing took a deep breath and forced a smile. I'm in my second year. I'm so nervous about my classes. I'm afraid that my grades will drop again. I think I should focus on my studies. Yenjika seemed to have sensed something. Instead of persuading her directly, she kept silent and considered her words. At this moment, Guqing walked a few steps impatiently. Like a tight string that had finally reached its limit, she suddenly broke down and said, I feel so useless. I'm so stressed. I've been practicing visualization for more than a year, but I still can't enter meditation. I'm so sad to see you guys surpass me one by one, running faster and farther away. I've cried several times. The junior brothers and sisters behind me are also stronger than me. I can't even be a substitute now. I'm almost out of the list. The boy I'm chasing doesn't like me. My grades are dropping so badly that I've been criticized by the counselor. I'm such a failure. I'm so useless. Listening to her hysterical outburst, Lu Cheng felt like he had never known her before. He didn't expect this straightforward, outgoing, silly sister to have accumulated so many negative emotions and bear so much pressure. He turned to look at Yenjika and saw the same expression on the girl's face. She was shocked, pitiful and shocked. When they were chatting, Qing was always the one who showed off, making others unable to feel her pain and sadness. Who knew that she had such a weak, helpless and desperate side? In the locker room this afternoon, she seemed to be very sad. Qing, relax a little. You are like this because you put too much pressure on yourself. Well, if you want to withdraw from the special training, then withdraw temporarily. When the time comes, relax and forget about the pressure. Maybe you will succeed one day. We will always welcome you back. You will always be a member of our martial arts club. Yenjika bit her lower lip and said in a soft voice. She comforted her in a way that didn't irritate her and made some suggestions. Guqing wiped her face with tears in her eyes and said with a bitter smile, You don't need to comfort me. I've vented and I feel much better. I finally understand that people are different. Maybe I'm not talented enough to walk this path. Anyway, I'm in my third year of the amateur career now, so I have more assurance in finding a job. I'll still come to the martial arts class twice a week, but I have to pay more attention to my studies. She sniffed and continued, I won't be in the special training team anymore, but I'll cheer for you in the stands. I'll be proud of your grades. Guqing became more and more confused. Finally, she stopped talking and pointed to the bridge. I'll go back first. If I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be so sad now. If I'd been like Sister Xiaowen and the others from the beginning and just wanted to get the amateur certificate, I'd definitely stay in the special training team. Ku, Ching, everyone, I'm sorry, I'm a deserter. Lu Cheng and Yenjika had no experience in this kind of situation, so they didn't know how to persuade her. They could only watch Guqing leave in a hurry. Lu Cheng turned his head to look at Yenjika with mixed feelings. He found that Yenjika also looked gloomy. She had been pursing her lips and was very depressed. He hugged the girl and comforted her. Ku, don't be sad. Didn't you say that there are two kinds of friends? One is the kind that you can be friends with for a lifetime, and the other is the crossing line. After a certain period of time, you'll gradually drift apart. Like other people in Guqing's dormitory, he still chatted with Chang, old Xiao, and model worker from time to time, but he was completely unfamiliar with their faces. Although this was the first and possibly the last dormitory in his college career. Yenjika buried her face in his shoulder and hit him lightly. She said in a muffled voice, "Don't talk. I know the reason, but I still can't help but feel depressed and sad." Lu Cheng stroked her back gently and looked at Guqing, who was getting farther and farther away. Suddenly, a song came to his mind. Although it was not so suitable, it was still a little appropriate. There are thousands of doors, but there is always one who has to go first. Alas, for this rare reunion, we must leave the best and most profound memories. We must win the championship of the National University Martial Arts competition once. Guqing's withdrawal surprised and shocked Li Mao, Sun Jian, and the others. The depression lingered in the special training team for a long time. But after a week, when the second round of the knockout competition was over, everyone had almost forgotten about it when they enjoyed the victory and ridiculed Kai Zhongming's performance. They no longer mentioned Guqing. This was cruel, but this was the reality. Everyone adjusted their mood and moved forward. They easily passed the third round of the knockout competition and entered their group. The first game was an away game against the seeded team of their group, Shannon University Martial Arts Club. On Saturday morning, the high-speed train drove out of the station. Lu Cheng and the others sat separately, either looking out of the window at the fast-passing scenery or whispering about their opponents. The first strong opponent of this competition was coming. Chapter 313. Mu Yu, top professional 9th pin. He's good at ancient Xingyi martial arts such as dragon, tiger, leopard, bear, eagle, and modern martial arts such as cannon fist and spear finger, but he hasn't mastered tremor force yet. He has the supernatural ability of misfortune and is known as Bane. He can cause bad luck to a specific person within 20 meters. The backlash will be random friends and family. He looks so old that it's almost premature. His nickname is Old Man Mu. Lin Xiaoji, female, top professional 9th pin. She's quite talented in martial arts and is expected to enter the Dan stage before graduation. She was taught by Mu Yu and is good at martial arts similar to his. Her catchphrase is "I used to believe in science." She has amulets and defensive spells from various martial arts sects, but she's still the one with the highest probability. Jean Dali, strong professional 9th pin. He just got his certificate in October. His martial arts are of the same origin as Mu Yu and Lin Xiaoji. His fighting style is relatively aggressive and he likes to court death. His family is in engineering and he likes to race. He often rides a heavy motorcycle to school. He's easygoing and a little hyperactive. While the bullet train was speeding, the information of the leading fighters of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He and Yenjika often discussed these things so that they wouldn't be defeated by Shanbei in the quarterfinals. At this moment, his phone vibrated with a message. Lu Cheng picked it up and found it was a message from Mo Jingting, his martial niece. "Oh, ___. Oh, young martial uncle, I'm going to hold a concert in Songqing next week. As the host and elder, why don't you entertain me? I've also prepared some VIP tickets for you. You can give them to your friends." Acting cute on purpose? Lu Cheng complained and directly handed the phone to Yenjika, who was leaning against him. "I used to want to buy tickets and go to her concert with you. But now I feel like I've been disillusioned. Going to a concert was one of the options for dating. Yenjika was not in good spirits and her lips were a little pale. She took the phone and smiled. Why don't you go? Let's go together. Lu Qing didn't expect Ku to have such an attitude and didn't know how to react. What kind of script is this? It's better to face this kind of thing openly. After all, she's your martial niece. It's impossible that you won't interact with her forever. Let's go entertain her together. After listening to the concert, she'll know what to do. Yenjika tilted her head and glanced at Lu Qing with a smile. She knows that her current attitude will only annoy you, right? Yes. Coach Yen is right. He thought for a moment and added, I'm just worried that she'll find out about your background and spread the news to Shushan's study and your grandpa and grandma. Yenjika rolled her eyes and said, if she had found out about it in private, she might have spread the news. But if we meet her openly, she won't say anything. Her purpose is to please you, not to offend you. Unless she really likes you. Being glanced at by her with a smile that was not a smile, Lu Qing hurriedly said, how is that possible? Someone like her who works in the entertainment industry has long since stopped liking such things. He took the phone and replied to the message. If you have time to go out of school, my girlfriend and I would like to invite you to try out the specialty of Songqing. A few minutes later, Mo Jingting sent a message. But I'm looking forward to it. Tell her for me. How should I call her? Anyway, say thank you. Yenjika leaned on Lu Qing's shoulder and read the message with a smile. She raised her chin slightly and said, see, isn't the tone a little different? No more emojis. Lu Qing nodded and then asked in a low voice, does your stomach feel better? Yenjika was in the middle of her period and couldn't fight in this match. She was a little disappointed, but Lu Qing was happy to see it. If she fought with Muyu, who knew what strange things would happen? There was once a male fighter whose crotch tore itself when fighting with him. A gentleman should be magnanimous. Damn it, please don't do anything bad, or it will be a black mark for the rest of my life. Lu Qing thought with fear. Much better. I felt better before we left. Your ginger tea is very comfortable. Yenjika played with her boyfriend's fingers and looked at the desolate early winter scenery outside. When it was almost noon, the high-speed train arrived at the station. The members of the martial arts club gathered in front of the gate. This time, they didn't have a car to pick them up like in the preliminaries. They had to take separate taxis. Is there anyone with a bad sense of direction? As the club president, Kai Zongming asked carefully. Me. He Zi raised her hand, Li Xiaowen raised his hand, Yan Shaoling and Mu Jinyan, who came as fans of the team, also raised their hands. Kai Zongming's mouth twitched. Why are you a roomful of bad sense of direction? Birds of a feather flock together. Yan Shaoling answered seriously and proudly. Then you have to split up and let others take you. Don't lose yourselves. Kai Zongming said with a smile. Yenjika leaned over and whispered in Lu Qing's ear. Actually, I'm a bit of a bad sense of direction too. I really don't see it. Lu Qing was surprised. Anyway, we have mobile navigation now. I just can't tell north from south. Yenjika pursed her lips. And I have a human navigation device. I always thought that people who are good at science wouldn't be bad at sense of direction. Lu Qing sighed with a smile. I think so too. Yenjika said with a sad and angry face. But there are always exceptions. When Xu Ruei and the shooting team arrived, they found some food in the high-speed railway station and then divided into groups to take taxis to the old campus of Shannon University. Little Ming was a clever boy. He let Lu Qing and Yenjika form a group without anyone else. In his words, he had to take care of other people's eyes and ears. In the afternoon, the road was not congested and the taxi drove smoothly. The driver looked at him in the mirror and smiled. Hey, are you also a student of Southern University? Me. Lu Qing held Yenjika's finger with one hand and pointed at himself with the other. You look like a student. Are you picking up your girlfriend at the high-speed railway station? The driver changed the topic. Why do you think so? Why can't she pick me up at the high-speed railway station because she is a student of Southern University? Lu Cheng argued with a smile. The driver laughed. In this world, only men pick up women. No woman picks up men. That's not necessarily true. Lu Cheng looked at Yenjika with a smile. Will you pick me up? Yenjika looked at him and snorted. Depends on my mood. The driver seemed to have confirmed Lu Cheng's identity. He immediately nagged, My daughter is also a student of Southern University in the School of Macromolecule. Well, there aren't many girls majoring in macromolecule, Lu Cheng said casually. That can't be helped. No one in my family knows about it. The driver answered carelessly. She was supposed to go home last night. She said that there was a martial arts competition today and she had to cheer for the team. What's the point of a girl watching this kind of fighting? It's okay. It's good for her health and self-protection, Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. The Martial Arts Club of Southern University is very strong. We often hear that old man Mu can beat 10 people by himself. The driver didn't care about Lu Cheng's opinion and continued with a smile. He has a supernatural ability and is known as the Bane. Lu Cheng added with interest when hearing about martial arts. Yenjika also listened with great interest. Yes. The driver was more convinced of Lu Cheng's identity. You also like martial arts competitions? After chatting for a while, Lu Cheng and Yenjika had a good impression of the martial arts atmosphere of Shannon University. The driver almost introduced his daughter to them. At the north gate of the university, the martial arts club gathered. They walked through the road with dozens of hundreds of old trees and arrived at the stadium. There was still more than an hour before the competition started. There were only a dozen students doing exercises in the stadium. Fortunately, the receptionist of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University had already talked to Li Xiaowen. He waited by the door and led them into the visiting team locker room. At the door of the strength training gym, a tall figure looked at the scene and sighed. Songqing University is early. She had a high ponytail and looked clean and fresh. However, she was wearing gaudy clothes, such as Buddhist beads, Taoist symbols, crosses, Arabic and so on. She was Lin Xiaoji, one of the leading members of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University. She was a little unsettled because of the upcoming battle, so she decided to come to the Martial Arts Club in advance to do some warming up. Lin Xiaoji walked to the locker room of the home team with the key in her hand. She turned the key and found the door was already open. She pushed the door open and saw old man Muyu, who looked like a man in his 40s or 50s. His hair was sparse. Captain, you're early too? Lin Xiaoji blurted out in surprise. Muyu lowered his hands and leaned forward. He sighed and said, I'm a little nervous, just like last time when we were fighting against Shanbei. Double Dan stage, one at 7 and one at 8. It was almost the same as last year's Shanbei. As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the locker room was pushed open again. Jean Dali walked in with a hippie hairstyle. He was startled and said, Damn, there's someone even earlier than me. Why are you all here? We're just worried about this match. If we lose, we'll probably face Shanbei in the quarterfinals. Lin Xiaoji didn't hide her emotions. But she quickly adjusted and smiled again. But we still have a chance. First, they might be careless and only send one of them, Lin Ke or Lu Cheng. Impossible. This is a crucial match. Muyu denied. Second, they're still training their substitutes. The first one to fight will definitely not be Lu Cheng or Lin Quebec. And they're probably worried about your supernatural ability, so they'll send Lu Cheng, who has insane stamina, to hold the line. In this way, as long as Xiao Jin and I can finish off their first fighter quickly, we can take turns to fight Lin Quebec. Although we're not as good as him and Lu Cheng in the first half of the year, we can still consume a lot of his stamina, which is his weakness. Lin Xiaoji spoke with assurance. At that time, when facing him who's close to his limit, your supernatural ability will be very effective. You won't consume too much of your stamina, so there's hope for you to fight Lu Cheng. I used to believe in science, but now I believe in metaphysics even more. She ended with a witty remark. But the substitutes of Songqing University have all grown up. It won't be easy to finish them off quickly. Muyu sighed again. Lin Xiaoji smiled and said, That's good. I haven't had a chance to use the new thing I've learned. Besides, the outside world thinks Songqing University will win. They think we can't win. This will make them proud and arrogant. Speaking of this, she looked at Mu Yu and then at Jean Dolly. Suddenly, her expression became solemn. Besides, there's a saying that goes, an army with grief will always win. Chapter 3:14. When the match was about to start, Geezer sure clapped his hands in the visiting team's locker room to wake up the members who were resting with their eyes closed. It's almost time. Get up and get ready. When we play Shanbei, we have to extort some money from the stingy school. We have to go there one day earlier. We can't be so tired again. The martial arts club still had some funds left, but it was rare to ask for money openly. Geezer sure certainly didn't want to miss this opportunity, especially since he could stimulate the principal and find an excuse to drink with him. Starting from the group stage, Songqing, which didn't perform well last year, would play away games all the time, even if it was the first versus the second in the quarterfinals. This made Li Liantong, Zhong Yenru and other students feel very regretful because they couldn't witness the victory in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club and cheer for them together. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhike were full of motivation when they chatted in secret. They wanted to fight for more home games next year. Coach, sure, I'm afraid the school will give us money to stay in the guest house. Kai Zhongming moved his body and talked nonsense. How dare they? Geezer sure scolded with a smile. Are they trying to dismiss a beggar? Either they don't give us money, or they should be more straightforward. Speaking of this, Li Xiaowen opened the door and smiled gently. Coach, sure, the supervisor is asking for the match list. Isn't it simple? Geezer sure looked around at Lu Cheng and the others. We can't fail at such an easy task, right? Lu Cheng and Lin Kei will play together today. Hearing this, Lu Cheng couldn't help but look at Lin Kei, only to see his brother-in-law was also looking at him. When their eyes met, they felt the eagerness of each other. This was the first time that the two leading members of the martial arts club would play together this semester. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhike looked at each other and smiled. They had a tacit understanding. They had been sure of this for a long time. Li Mao, Lin Hua and the other members were relieved and became more certain. They were afraid that Coach Sure would be so capricious that he had to train the substitutes at this time and only send one leading member. But Geezer sure suddenly changed the topic. Shannon is not that great of an opponent. We still need to accumulate actual combat experience as much as possible. In this case, Brat, you'll be the last. Otherwise, it'll be boring for others to just watch. His words made the crowd burst into laughter. They were all deeply impressed by Lu Cheng's abnormal physical strength. Yes, master. Lu Cheng smiled and answered in a light tone. Now that he had formally become Geezer Shure's disciple, he could openly call him Geezer Shure. As for the other one, we'll follow the principle of taking turns to fight. Sun Jian, you'll take the lead. Without hesitation, Shi Jiangwo casually chose the most senior member of the martial arts club. With Lin Kei and Lu Cheng behind him, Sun Jian had no qualms about being the vanguard. This time, I'm not afraid of not having a chance to go on stage. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh as he turned his head. This was the joke everyone used to make fun of senior brother Sun Jian during the preliminaries in the first half of the year. He actually still remembered it. Yan Zhike also covered her mouth and giggled. She winked at her boyfriend, hinting that this was all his fault. She was in high spirits because even if she was in good condition, it seemed that she would not have the chance to compete today. Beside them, Li Xiaowen quickly recorded the list and order of the main force. Sun Jian, Lin Kei, Lu Cheng. When the laughter stopped, Geezer Sure waved his hand carelessly. The substitutes will follow the old rules. Li Mao, Kai Zhongming, Lin Hua. After the announcement, he looked at He Zi and Wang Dali. You may not have a chance to fight in the next 2 semesters. Just follow the others and broaden your horizons. Put more energy into the individual ranking event. Yes, Coach Sure. The 2 freshmen were still interested in the novelty and had a sense of honor, so they answered with vigor. Of course, Heezi's current interest was in her identity as a frontline cat reporter. After the main force and the substitutes were confirmed, Li Xiaowen turned around and walked out to submit the list. As the door of the locker room opened and closed, Lu Cheng saw that it was full of students outside, with only a few empty seats. The martial arts atmosphere in Shannon is really good. He praised in his heart, thinking of the taxi driver's daughter. She was definitely among the thousands of students, unremarkable and ordinary. However, it was precisely because of the accumulation of these unremarkable and ordinary spectators that he was able to create an atmosphere that moved him and made martial artists hot-blooded. "Let's go." After waiting for a while, Geezer sure waved his hand and coughed twice. With a creak, the door opened. The picture of Shannon University's martial arts arena was reflected in the eyes of Lu Cheng, Yenjuke, and the others. They raised huge banners with their common thoughts written on them. Together through thick and thin. Win or lose, we'll stand together through thick and thin. Just as the people of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walked out, one of the stands suddenly erupted with tsunami-like shouts. "Shannon University!" The other side of the stands immediately responded. "Never admit defeat." The sound waves were deafening and the momentum was astonishing. In such an environment, martial artists with a slightly weaker mentality would have their will shaken, and it would be difficult for them to exert their full strength. Unfortunately, most of the members of the martial arts club were old foxes. They had seen Yimo's hellish home ground, so they were not frightened by this kind of friendly demonstration. After a wave of shouts, the referee stepped into the ring, and the broadcast announced the first match in real time. Sun Jian of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Shannon University Martial Arts Club. The announcer paused for a moment to give the audience time to react. Then he shouted at the top of his voice, "Lin Xiaoji! Lin Xiaoji!" The students responded with the greatest enthusiasm and excitement. This made them look like they had the upper hand, and not the home team that everyone thought had little hope of winning. "Lin Xiaoji," Lu Cheng murmured thoughtfully. In his and Ku's opinion, apart from supernatural ability, Lin Xiaoji was probably stronger than Mu Yu in terms of martial arts. There was a great chance that she would enter the Dan stage next year. "I always feel that senior brother Sun's luck is not very good," Yenjuke whispered in his ear, pursing her lips and laughing. "You can't say that. Seeing the full power of a top professional ninth pin will be very helpful for him to get the professional certificate," Lu Cheng said seriously and then joked. "At least he didn't meet Mu Yu directly, right?" Sun Jian didn't hear their discussion. He bumped his fists one by one and strode to the arena with his head held high. Standing on the right side of the referee, he saw Lin Xiaoji stopping in front of the stone steps. She took off the Buddhist prayer beads, small crosses and Taoist amulets one by one and handed them to the match supervisor. "She really lives up to her reputation," Sun Jian exclaimed. Then he opened his eyes wide because Lin Xiaoji wasn't done yet. She took out a tantric dharma bell from her pocket, rolled up her trousers, untied the red string with strange characters written on it, and took out a lucky star from her hair. Damn, how many things did she hide? Is this necessary? Is she a metaphysical martial artist? Sun Jian thought, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. After a while, Lin Xiaoji finally finished. Before entering the arena, she specifically reminded the match supervisor, "Senior, don't lose it. I have a feeling that our captain is going to make a big move tonight. I don't want to be an unlucky kid." After nagging, she finally came to Sun Jian and apologized with a sincere smile. The corner of the referee's mouth twitched and he announced the start of the conversation. "Let me ask you, do these things work?" Sun Jian couldn't hide his curiosity and asked. He didn't want to provoke her with words. He had to maintain his composure in front of a girl. Lin Xiaoji nodded sincerely. "They work. I tested it with my flesh. When I wasn't wearing these, my captain's counterattack would randomly hit me 7 or 8 times out of 10. Now, it's only 4 times out of 10. I used to believe in science, but now I really believe in this. Why do I hear an unbearable past?" Sun Jian looked at the other party sympathetically and pondered for a moment before saying, Lin Xiaoji opened her mouth as if she wanted to talk about her past sufferings, but in the end, she only said, sigh. Sun Jian didn't say anything more to avoid being affected by bad luck. Lin Xiaoji seized the time to get used to the situation without the amulets. In the quiet atmosphere, the referee raised his right hand and started the focus of the match. Begin! Lin Xiaoji arched her back and the muscles on the soles of her feet stretched and bounced. She shot out like a beautiful and dangerous cheetah. She was so fast that Sun Jian couldn't react in time. However, Sun Jian didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward. Most of the audience was stunned. He rushed toward his terrifying opponent as if he wanted to fight head-on. Seeing that they were about to meet, he stomped on the ground with his right foot and used a strange technique to change the direction of his body like a catapult. He strangely circled to Lin Xiaoji's side. Catapult body movement of modern Xingyi. Bam! Sun Jian straightened his knees and waist, swung his shoulders and arms, and hit the best forward punch in a while. He tried his best to gain the upper hand and didn't give his strong opponent a chance to catch her breath. Lin Xiaoji suddenly bounced her spine and forcibly changed her center of gravity. She changed her position and stabilized her body. She shook her left arm and swung it in the opposite direction. It was heavy and powerful. Bam! With a loud bang, Sun Jian took a step back and removed part of the force. He borrowed part of the force and jumped forward. Half-step crushing punch. Brutal blizzard, came with a roar. Facing this, Lin Xiaoji didn't change her expression. She suddenly took a deep breath, her face turned red, and her temples bulged. Then she swung her body and hit the powerful modern blast punch. Bam! Her fist trembled and swayed in the air as if it was affected by the wind. Bam! Their fists hit each other with a roar. Sun Jian's vision blurred and he felt a strong shock wave sweep over his whole body. His qi and blood were rolling, his internal organs were uncomfortable, his muscles, tendons, and bones were trembling and he couldn't exert force. Bam! Lin Xiaoji seized the opportunity and stepped forward. Her eagle claw reached out and stopped in front of Sun Jian's throat. Round 1, Lin Xiaoji wins. The referee announced loudly. Tremor punch. Yenjika straightened her back and muttered to herself. She subconsciously glanced at her boyfriend beside her. Lu Cheng nodded to her, indicating that it was true. Lin Xiaoji's modern blast punch had developed the tremor force. This was something new that she hadn't shown before. While Li Mao and the others were still in shock, Lin Ke stood up with an expressionless face and tore off his overcoat. Chapter 315. Lin Xiaoji. Lin Xiaoji. The entire audience was silent at first. The sound of the trumpets could be heard sporadically. Then they burst into cheers and shouts. The cheers shook the heavens. They were sure that Lin Xiaoji could beat Sun Jian, but they didn't expect her to win so quickly and so easily. It was like she was bullying a noob, and she seemed to have learned something new. This was really a morale-boosting battle. In the seats of the home team, Jean Dali and several substitutes stood up and waved their towels excitedly. Damn, why is it me again? Why is it always my turn to be this good thing? In the arena, Sun Jian shook his head to stop the dizziness, withdrew his qi and blood, and tried to find joy in the bitterness. Fortunately, I have a good mentality. He didn't waste any time, turned around, and walked quickly to the stone steps. He met Lin Ke halfway, who was full of fighting spirit. She has learned tremor force. Sun Jian stretched out his fist and reminded him in a low voice. Lin Ke nodded indifferently and bumped his fist with Sun Jian when they passed each other. Looking at him approaching step by step, Lin Xiaoji hurriedly exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi. She visualized the scene of clouds and wind blowing to calm herself down. In this battle with Lin Ke, she only had one strategy and one purpose, and that was to wear him out. Wearing him out a few times of Dan stage outbursts would be a victory. The longer she wore him out, the greater the victory. She didn't expect to defeat an 8th pin Dan stage fighter who had mastered force. Back then, Lin Ke and Lu Cheng were so fierce that they could only barely defeat Wei Xingtian, who was nothing special, by taking turns to fight him. Lin Ke appeared very quiet and reserved in the midst of the sound waves that reverberated throughout the stadium. However, when he stood in the predetermined position, Lin Xiaoji suddenly felt as if there was a huge mountain or a huge river in front of her. She felt as if she was looking up at a huge mountain or a huge river. Is this the suppression of the dance stage? She took a deep breath and tried to get rid of her current state. Cheng, how many moves do you think Lin Ke will take to win? Kai Zongming couldn't help but ask. Lu Cheng rolled his eyes at him and said, anyway, you have no moral integrity to bet. How many moves Lu Cheng would take to win depended on his strategy and how much strength he would reserve for the next round or even the next one. I have a feeling that he will try to end the battle quickly. He will most likely finish it in 3 to 5 moves. Kai Zongming didn't mind his bad friend's attitude at all. He just laughed to himself and said, don't you think that the martial arts that those people from Southern University are good at fits a sentence? The eyes of an eagle, the speed of a leopard, and the strength of a bear. After he finished speaking, he found that Lu Cheng looked confused. Obviously, he didn't get the joke. You haven't seen that cartoon? Kai Zongming sneered. Lu Cheng turned his head to look at Yenjika, only to see that she was also at a loss. She shook her head blankly, indicating that she didn't know what the joke was either. Maybe it's an old anime? She looked up and made a judgment. Understood. Lu Cheng nodded solemnly and turned to reply to Kai Zongming. Uncle, I'm sorry. We're too young to watch such an old anime. *CK. Little Ming almost choked on his words. Their relaxed attitude affected Li Mao, Wang Dali, and the others. They recovered from the shock of Lin Xiaoji's tremor force. That's right, what's so great about tremor energy? Both of our leading members of the martial arts club know how to use it. At this moment, the referee waved his right hand, and his voice suppressed the rolling waves. Second round, start. The word, start, was still echoing. Lin Ke suddenly withdrew and expanded his chi, and directly broke out the dance stage. Bang! The place where he stood seemed to explode, and countless fragments flew out. He grew taller and fiercely pounced on Lin Xiaoji. With just one pounce, the several meters between them disappeared. Lin Xiaoji was just thinking about it when she saw a figure like a meteor falling from the sky, like a god descending on earth, rushing at her with the momentum of Mount Tai. So fast, so fierce, so direct. In a split second, she didn't panic and calmly made a judgment. She swung her center of gravity backward, swung her waist and back, and nimbly and quickly retreated a few steps. These few steps were in both form and spirit, like a tall antelope. Her footing was very stable, and her body didn't sway, mixed with some of the heaviness of elephant form. Seeing that she was about to pull away and get out of the predicament just now, Lin Ke suddenly stopped, gathered his chi, and used all his strength to step forward and plow. Boom! The ground under Lin Xiaoji's feet cracked, as if there was a burst of power, lifting her left leg and making her lose her center of gravity. The 16th move of the fighting sect, earth cracking. Lin Xiaoji was a little shocked and a little flustered. Her spine moved up and down, and she tried to forcibly stabilize her body. Lin Ke seized the opportunity and rushed in front of her. He visualized the scene of a meteor crossing the sky, bulging his temples, and quickly swinging his right arm in a small range, and blasted out a punch like lightning. Lin Xiaoji hurriedly parried and barely used the blast punch, shaking a little bit to meet the attack. Bang! She only felt that she was smashed by a meteor in front of her, and was directly hit by the blast wave that turned into wind and waves. Her chi and blood were tumbling, making her want to vomit, and her 5 viscera and 6 bowels were moving out of their positions in horror. A sound came from her abdomen, like a low and continuous explosion. Lin Ke's right hand moved back, and the left side of his body leaned forward. He quickly swung his arm again, outlining the visualization scene, and blasted out a punch. Lin Xiaoji had just used the internal training method to relieve the shock, and now she had to face the continuous attack. She put her hands on her lower abdomen, clenched her palms, opened her 5 fingers, and used the eagle claw to fight against the meteor force. Bang! Her mind was buzzing, and her muscles and tendons were trembling. She was stunned for a moment, and her 5 fingers were unable to hold Lin Kei's fist. It directly pressed against her abdomen and stopped there. The referee stood up straight and announced loudly, "The second round, Lin Kei wins." In the blink of an eye, the winner had been decided. The students of Southern University either opened their eyes wide, covered their mouths, or were stunned. The noise in the stadium suddenly disappeared. Just like before, they knew that Lin Xiaoji couldn't beat Lin Kei and would most likely lose. But they didn't expect that she would lose so easily and without any resistance. The top professional 9th pin fighter who defeated Sun Jian so quickly seemed to have lost her kung fu in an instant. Lin Xiaoji forced herself to do the internal training method to recover. She resisted the urge to vomit, looked at Lin Kei in horror, turned around and walked out of the arena, still thinking about the scene just now. I lost? I lost just like that? She thought that she was comparable to Lu Cheng when he fought Wei Xingtian and could barely resist Lin Kei's double explosion. She expected to exhaust him about 3 force concentrations and complete more exchanges to lay the best foundation for Jean Dali later. But who knew that she couldn't even hold on for a minute? Is this the strength of a talented dance stage fighter? Is this the strength of absolute strength? She had just walked down the stone steps when she saw the hippie-looking Jean Dali in front of her. She quickly gathered her energy and said, "Xiao Jin, he used double explosion. It must be a big burden for him. Fight well and exhaust him to the limit." "Okay." Jean Dali put away his usual cynicism and rushed to the arena in order to seize the time. Lin Xiaoji closed her eyes and retched. She walked back to the home team seats with trembling legs. If Xiao Jin exhausts Lin Kei and allows the team leader to fight Lu Cheng in his best condition, we have at least a 50% chance of winning. Team leader? Suddenly, fear appeared in her eyes. Regardless of her body condition, she ran and jumped back to the arena. She spread her hands to the match supervisor and said with a shy smile, "Senior, my things. Don't believe these things. It's useless." The match supervisor was an old senior. He kindly reminded her. Lin Xiaoji blinked and said with a sad and angry smile, "Senior, you don't understand." In the away team seats, Kai Zhongming looked around complacently. "I told you, Lin Kei needs to finish quickly. 3 to 5 moves." Lu Cheng, Yan Zheke, and the others didn't respond to him. They just whispered to each other, feeling happy and relaxed. Lin Kei's performance is strong enough. We can rest assured. At this time, the students in the stands slowly recovered and regained their morale. They shouted Jean Dali's name and cheered for him. Hearing the waves of encouragement, Jean Dali's body trembled slightly. He was in the most excited state. He seized the last bit of time he had and quickly reconsidered his strategy. Lin Kei had insta-killed Sister Xiaoji with a double explosion and a miraculous move, so he must have taken quite a toll on himself. In this round, he would most likely play it safe and try to take me down without paying too much of a price, so that he could exhaust Captain even more. In this case, just as he was thinking about this, the referee looked at Lin Kei, who was breathing quickly, and raised his right hand without showing any favoritism. Round 3, start. Jean Dali immediately calmed down and was about to use the crane steps and the tiger form to attack first, followed by the eagle claw and the crocodile bite. Suddenly, he saw Lin Kei hugging and exploding, spewing out Dan Qi again. Is he here again? Isn't he holding back a little? Lin Kei transformed into a heavy truck and flew to Jean Dali in 2 steps. He arrived almost at the same time as the wind, as if he was preparing for some terrifying follow-up. Jean Dali had plenty of battle experience. He was quick-witted and didn't retreat like an antelope with horns hanging on its head. Instead, he suddenly stretched his body and stood up like a giant bear. He expanded his muscles and turned sideways. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and crashed into Lin Quebec, bear form. Giant bear hits the tree. Bam! Jean Dali, who had turned into a giant bear, was sent flying. He staggered and hurriedly tried to regain his balance. Lin Kei didn't manage to execute his follow-up moves. Suddenly, his eyes sharpened and he made another force concentration, without holding back. Bam! his cannon was fired and he was in front of Jean Dolly in an instant. Then he stomped his feet and braked forcefully. Amidst the violent friction, he swung his right arm, leaving afterimages behind. Fighting Sect, 27th move, Meteor Burst. Boom. Jean Dolly, who had just regained his balance, felt a bomb explode in front of him. A violent shockwave came roaring, almost enough to blow him away and tear his flesh. He didn't have time to think. He took advantage of the momentum and rolled to the ground to avoid the blast. Lin K had made the second double explosion. He must be under a lot of pressure and needs to take a break. I'll have a chance to do a carp flip. At this moment, Lin K retracted his chi and blood, force, and spirit with a deep look in his eyes. Triple explosion. Triple explosion. His eyes lit up and he blurted out. Bam. With the eruption of his Dan Chi, Lin K slid forward, leaving a shocking trail on the ground. He rushed to Jean Dolly's side before Jean Dolly could jump up. He kicked out his right foot and stopped near Jean Dolly's temple. Round 3, Lin K wins. The referee's voice made the whole arena silent. Muyu stood up, took a deep breath, and untied a strange Taoist amulet from his neck. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.